right, there we go. We are live. Thank you for joining in. Welcome to the Commissioner Evaluation Show. The Commissioner Evaluation Show. I don't know why I mess up the intro every time I start this show. I have no idea. But McGlynn is in. Let the fun begin. Tonight's show, it should be fabulous as usual. As my guests, myself, skim through the Week 14 waivers, injury news, rumors, as well as some Mighty McGlynn dynasty trades and playoff scenarios, and then team evaluations with Shane Swagger, Swagzilla 0G. The water's warm, so jump right in. And thanks for joining along. A little about myself. I like to start the shows out with some things that happened in my life with my kids or my whatever. I worked 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. for 5 days, working 60 hours last week. Saturday, we cleaned the house, cleaned around the house, went to Texas Roadhouse, had a late lunch. And then my buddy Peter Rocking Down the House, Aparicio, was DJ at a local bar called Champions by our house. I got there at 8. My wife had a neighborhood Friendsmas party, and she met up around 11. Closed the bar at 2, and I went to my garage until about 5:30 in the morning. So it was a late night, and then I got up at 11 to set my lineups. Went to my neighbor Joe's house to watch the noon and the 3 o'clock games, and I was done by 7 o'clock. Man, I'm old now. I'm like, I woke up at like 5:45 the next a.m. completely refreshed, but I think I got something going on, some kind of sickness. There's definitely something going around the America right now, or the Midwest anyway, that's kind of knocking everybody out. My kids were sick. My wife was sick before. Everybody's getting better, but I haven't had anything yet. Or if it's hitting me, it's not hitting me as hard as everybody else. So I got that like Popeye spinach immune system that's not letting it beat me up, but I was beat up for a couple days or so. JT, how about yourself? What have you been up to?
Oh, yeah, like the sickness going around. My son's had the flu all weekend, so kind of trying to take a chill this weekend and stay at home, as last week with Thanksgiving, everything was crazy. Steelers-Colts game on Monday night, Syracuse-Illinois game on Tuesday. It was a long week, so I've been trying to take it easy the last couple days and recoup a little bit.
Yeah, I'm drinking some. I got a hot toddy going right now with some tea and Jameson, trying to make myself feel a little better. That's the cure for everything, anyway.
That's for sure.
In my mind. So, all right, we got a guest here tonight, someone who have not hooked up with before, that I'm super happy to have on my show. Shane, can you tell me about yourself, where the Twitter machine can find you, what you do in the fantasy community kind of stuff?
Man, first of all, thanks a ton for having me on. Second of all, it's a damn good weekend when the worst part of your weekend was stopping to set your lineups.
Yeah.
Am I wrong?
It's
You're like, damn, these drafts were a lot more fun than setting the lineups and claiming all these players off waivers.
I got a lot of good neighbors that stay out a little too late, and I they all have different days off and kind of stuff like that. So I get in a lot of trouble here on Thursday nights and Monday nights and stuff with guys got pool tables in the garage and dartboards. I got a Nintendo in my garage. We play Blades of Steel and Tecmo Bowl and stuff for beers and shots. So there's plenty to do around here.
Yeah, so I'm Swagzilla 0G in the Twitterverse, and I do Rookie Fever podcasts with Michael Finero, and I've been doing the Superflex Super Show, the SOPs with John Hogue lately. That's been a ton of fun, and just kind of kick it around, man. Try to help people hopefully win some championships, to be one of those, that one, what is it, 8%, the minimal, the minority that wins your championship.
Yeah. It's not easy to do for sure. I've been in a lot of dynasty leagues, a lot of fantasy football leagues and dynasty leagues for a long time. And, it's definitely, it's 12-team leagues. It is tough to do, but I've got a handful of rings. That's one thing I do for my home leagues. I buy championship rings for the winner. I've done that for a while now. If you win, they're like $25 on Etsy. You let the person pick out the diamond, whatever color they want, ruby or emerald,
nice,
gold or silver, and then you have it engraved with their name, their record, the dynasty league name, stuff like that. So JT, if you win in the league, you'll get one of them, but don't plan on it. Okay,
I would love to have one of those. Those sounds phenomenal. That's a great idea. I know a couple people do like championship belts, and like I know for my leagues we have a big trophy that I add to with a plaque each year, who won and their record and all that. But I've never thought about the rings. That's a good idea. I'd love to have one of those.
Oh man, they're the best.
Yeah, my neighborhood league had a trophy that we passed around. They had plaques on it and stuff. And some dude didn't like the outcome of the league. He hated it, and he broke the trophy. So I'm like, what?
What?
Yeah, stupid shit. So I'm like, what? what we're going to do now is just have these rings, and you can show up at a draft like Tom Brady with 10 rings on if you're that good, But if not, everybody else can give you the finger with the ring on their hand, And so,
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't believe he broke the trophy. That's ridiculous.
total beat off. Yeah, total beat off. So, whatever, it is what it is. Tell me about a day in the life of you, Shane. What's going on? What do you do for a living? Like all
a
that
day
kind
in
of
the
stuff?
life of me. I'm a family man, much like yourself, John. We've talked a little bit about our kids. I know yours are getting older, but I do a lot of that 5 days a week. The alarm goes off at 5:10. Tomorrow's one of the days I get to sleep in, and that'll be till 6:30. And I'll get up, help the kids get up, help them get out to school, and hang with. Then I'll hang with my youngest one. Man, a day in the life. Holy cow! My days are crazy and go by fast, and they're hard to explain. They're busy as hell. They're balls to the wall, honestly. But sometimes it seems like I do nothing.
It's how it works sometimes. They run away from you, But just when you
Yes.
think I got some
I
time to do
am-
this, next thing you know, it's 8 o'clock at night, and you're like, shit, what the hell? Where did
I
my day
am
go?
taken for granted. I handle plenty of other people's needs, and I hope that they go to bed happy, and that makes me feel a little bit better. Even if they don't, even if I'm taken for granted. No BS here.
Hey, it is what it is, man. Have at it. Enjoy life, brother. That's what it's all about. When did you start playing fantasy football? Are you a redraft or a dynasty guy?
So probably about 20 years ago ish, and started with redraft. I can't think of a serious redraft league I'm in anymore outside of Scott Fishbowl, which you two both did a lot better than me this year. And then, a lot of the eliminators and stuff, but you're not making any moves in those. I kind of miss it. So I'm a dynasty head at this point, and that's probably been about 7-8 years. Superflex Dynasty is my jam. I'm kind of getting to the point where I would like a little bit more redraft in my life, because I'm just kind of sick of the bottom 5 teams that don't want to be competitive. I think it's just getting to be a new trend that we're having, and I want to play to see if I can win and against some good competition, not 7 teams when you're playing with 12. But man, Superflex Dynasty could be so much fun. I think it needs to be fixed a little bit though.
Yeah, I think being I like I said, I run a bunch of home leagues, and it's a little bit more fun when you got guys. Everybody's competing, and we have lotteries for our our toilet bowl team has a lottery. Like you get to pick. We have a bingo machine, picking balls and stuff, and whoever wins the shit bowl gets pick 113 in the draft also. So there's nobody ever gives up, and people obviously trade away for more draft picks, but nobody really ever gives up as far as that goes. There's something to win on.
I like the lottery idea for sure. I've thought about some of that. We'll have to talk, man.
Yeah, and then all kind of. So we'll get to some of the other stuff later. But what's your favorite Sunday afternoon munching food when you're glued to the TV watching Red Zone?
Probably pizza. Honestly, and if we can do it, we're gonna do make your own pizza at home. We're gonna toss the dough. My daughter likes to make the dough, and then everybody will do their own toppings on the pizza, and have some fun with it.
That's a good idea. I go to a bunch of neighbors' houses and watch the games and stuff. The kids come over once in a while, or we'll do something in my garage. But I never thought about making our own pizza. That would be pretty cool.
Man, it's so easy too. Even if you just get a frozen dough ball or two and you make it that way, which we do sometimes. But even just to get the yeast, the flour, it's like 4 basic ingredients that you can toss together and make some fresh dough.
Nice.
Do it.
Nice. I will do that. What's your favorite hobby now? What was it before you started playing fantasy football? And is it still your hobby, besides fantasy football?
Yeah, I saw this question. Like I said, coming into the show, I checked out the notes, and this is one of those questions that kind of makes you feel like inferior to society, and maybe you need to have a couple more hobbies that aren't just fantasy football. But man, love being outside if I can, go on some hikes, the wilderness. Most of the hobbies that I would say it's like, oh yeah, I do this, but it's like, oh, I did that like 5 or 10 years ago. Like I need to get out and do more. But before this, man, used to like do some biking, hiking. Oh man, but it's kind of just this and family, man, and work, But I feel oddly fulfilled.
Yeah, that's we got a Starved Rock State Park by our house. It's about
My
maybe half hour away or so.
nice.
And there's all kind of hikes. They have a big buffalo there. There's all kind of cliffs and trails and stuff. It's nice. It's I mean, for where they have a huge waterfall. I'm not a cold water guy, but the water's about 74,000 degrees below zero in this place, so it takes me a while to get used to it. And I'm not I don't like going in there, but I go with my kids, so it is what it is, But it's a really nice place though to go visit. The state parks are great for walking trails, hanging out with the family kind of stuff. So yeah, again, we've been to 43 states already for our kids' sports and stuff. So we've seen a lot of stuff from the Grand Canyon to Niagara Falls to stuff in Florida, stuff in Texas. We haven't seen just recently. We went to see the Alamo a couple weeks ago because we were so far deep into Texas. So we've traveled all over the place, seen a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I think that's awesome, by the way. But I think one of my favorite pastimes currently is wondering why people don't like me just because I was honest about Lamar Jackson. That's probably it right there.
You know what? You just say what comes to your mind and what you believe is true, and that's all that matters, man. Have at it.
No, you give them the facts. That's the problem. Lamar Jackson is a myth. Like he's one of those things like people don't want to know the truth about, and they'll like go, and then once you actually show them, and they just like, well, I just unfollowed you.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes people they just get in their head that a player is a certain way. No matter the facts meet up with that or not, they're just like, well, I saw him play and I know that it's this way, no matter what you try to tell them. I mean, I have irrational players I'm that way with that I like no matter every statistic, everything tells me they're never going to amount to anything. And they're on every one of my dynasty rosters and I just refuse to give up on them. But my thing is I know that I'm irrational about them. And I think that's the key, like realizing that you're irrational about a player as opposed to fighting to the death about someone when you know that it's wrong.
Right.
Anyway.
It's one thing to have a guy or your guy that you like. It's another thing to continually have somebody tiered in a category that they haven't fulfilled. And people keep coming in from other classes and surpassing them. And we know it, but so it's one thing to have your guy. It's one thing even if Lamar Jackson's your guy, as long as you kind of know who he is and what he's going to give you and the inconsistency that's there. But now man, I just lost follows. So you guys are at least getting some listens on the show.
Well, hopefully both people are listening. Well, I got no listeners right now. No, hopefully when the podcast come out, some people join there, but. There's not many people that tune in here. There's a lot of good shows on Tuesday night, man. It kind of sucks that Tuesday night's our thing, but we'll see what happens. Every once in a while, some people chime in with questions and stuff. So maybe somebody will chime in and unfollow me too.
I'll watch what I say about Lamar the rest of the way. Then
I was just trying to talk a little bit, so to buy us some time before we got to the next question.
Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Man, this is such a tough question, too, because the fantasy football space, first of all, is so weird. Like, in a weird way, I felt further in the fantasy football community like 3 or 4 years ago or 2019. And, like, you kind of regress. And then there's also a part of it, though, that it is what you make of it. And I also know with 100% certainty that within some of that time span, like I haven't put out as much either. Like I podcast, I haven't jotted anything down or done any articles in the longest time. I rarely can be found on a live feed. I'm on Twitter arguing about Lamar Jackson. And so to answer that question, I think you have to really decide what you want to do and how you want to do it, because it doesn't happen the same for everybody. And I'll tell you one thing, if I want this to be more than what it is, I have to go get it. I can't wait for somebody to throw it to me. And I would give that same advice to you guys or anybody else. And you have to decide what you want this to be. Do I want this to be my hobby, which I really kind of like it right now, and not having responsibilities to it sometimes. But then you sometimes also want more and more. You see people get things that you think you deserve or you think you want, and some of those things maybe you deserved. Like speaking for myself, like in that maybe I deserved them more 3 years ago, and then you kind of you let things get in the way and life changes, and then the things that you deserved then might not be the things you deserve today. But in short, like, don't wait for somebody to pass you the ball. Go get it and make some plays, because it's not just going to come to you. In 5 years, I would love to say that I am at least making enough money off this to where I can tell my wife I don't have to go to work anymore. You know, that's the dream. I'd be lying if I didn't want that. But you got to get out there and work, you know, and then it's going to come easy to some people that you don't think deserve it, and you can't let that bother you.
Yeah.
That's probably a horrible answer.
No, it's not. It's not. You know, the thing is, I'm a little discouraged, and I'm a little bit kind of, I am computer illiterate. You know, I know how to turn this StreamYard on, and I know how to, like, you know, I still only send this video or my podcast out to Apple Podcasts, because I don't know how to send the rest of the stuff out to the rest of the platforms and stuff. You know, but you know, one day I'll figure all this stuff out and get it together. You know, I've done enough episodes now where I should be able to.
Well, you're on the largest platform, at least.
Yeah. So, but I mean, I lived 2 blocks away from Mike Tagliere, and I was at his house for 4 or 5 years when he was doing his stuff. And you know, since Mike passed, I found, you know, my other neighbor is Nick Scripp over here, and he's just putting out content every morning, every afternoon, every night. I mean, I see what it takes to be a successful fantasy analyst. I'm not gifted like that. I do a show. I do this podcast once a week. You know, when I get a chance, it's what I do for fun. You know, if somebody decides, hey, we want to have your show on our platform, or your show on our show, hey, I'm more than happy to do that. But I just like doing this for fun. This is my favorite hobby. I grew up playing football. I grew up watching football, then playing football, then having kids and showing them how to play football and watching them play football and all the rest of stuff like that. And, you know, I love football, and I love talking about it. I love fantasy football. You know, I was in 19 leagues this year. So it's, you know, it's just something I love to do. And if I could just keep doing this show and hopefully one day make something happen of it, but I don't write articles or do TikToks and all the other shit like that. So I don't ever see myself like being, you know, what those guys do. I think I could if I had the computer skills and was able to make all this content and stuff, but I don't even know how to send a document to, like, Twitter. You know, I mean, it's like, I'm so bad with this kind of stuff. You know, I'm in the trades. I don't have access to a computer all day long. So it is what it is, you know, but you know, if you can get there one day, you know, then have at it. You know, I retweet and, you know, like and share and whatever I can for whoever I can see on the internet, and when I have a chance to, you know, and hopefully I never ever want to see anybody fail. Hopefully one day I'll be like, yes, I remember when that guy was on my show. He was awesome, man. You know, hopefully he'll come back one day. But, you know, just do the best you can, man, and just keep grinding. You never know. One day somebody sees you and you're on somewhere, and that's what it's all about. If you had to spend 2 minutes with yourself, 18-year-old self, on your high school graduation day, what would you tell yourself?
I would try so hard to tell me how easy everything is right now, and how much it could, if you take those easy opportunities when you're young, how much easier it could potentially make the rest of your life versus the fun you can have when you're that age. And how much different it could make your life. I think that our society, and my son, man, you've got kids too. I know, Justin, I don't know about you, but I think society unfairly judges youth, and I think it has too big of a bearing on their future. And it's a time when you want them to have fun and socialize and get to know things, but I have to constantly let them know, like, both kids, like, how important this time is to their entirety of their life, even though they're not even legally responsible for themselves and their dumb juveniles making stupid decisions that we would probably make ourselves. Like, this is when it matters. That's what I would tell myself.
That's good. That's good. I would tell myself just keep having fun.
I would tell myself the opposite. But yes, do have fun. Don't get me wrong. Like, have fun.
I made it this far, not giving a shit about anything and just living life and whatever. I'm just gonna keep going. I'm on the back nine of life already. I know
John, I think about it that way sometimes too. To be honest with you, I do think about it that way too. Just kind of like, it hasn't been bad. Even like I told you at the beginning of the show, I'm oddly fulfilled. So.
Yeah, I think some people are like big time planners. I was a big time planner when I was a kid, and I was always trying to set up my life for the next 20 years when I was 16 or 18. And then I think sometimes, they're opposite. You're just like, go by the seat of your pants. I felt as I got older, I got less of a planner, became more go by the seat of my pants because I realized everything I thought that was going to happen didn't happen anyway. So I might as well enjoy it a little bit along the way and not feel so bad that it didn't end up exactly how I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, let's move down to some commissioner questions now that we got through that part of the introductions. How does your league determine your playoff teams, like your points, your record, both? Like I was saying before, my bottom 6 teams of my either the shit bowl participants all go by max points 4, depending on where we get pointed. So if you had the least, even if you start all your backups on your roster and all your good guys on your bench, you're still going to get charged for max points for your entire roster. So you really can't hide anybody. So max points 4 on the Sleeper app is what I use, and whoever has the least amount of max points 4 gets 40 balls in the draft lottery, and then it goes 25 and 15, 12, 10 and 6. I think is the number. And then that's that. Well, you get a bunch of balls in a lottery machine, and you pick. That's how we determine where you go from 1 to 6 in the shit bowl bracket. And then the other teams go by. You get 4. We have divisions, 4 division winners, and then whoever did not win a division, their last 2 wild cards are the highest point leaders in the league. So you could have a 4 and 8 record and still make the playoffs because you're a team that's got smoked every week by the highest scorer, but your team is really good. So it's sometimes the high scorers are the ones that come in and just sweep the playoffs, and that's just how it works. So how does your playoffs work in some of your home leagues?
So Justin, how do you feel about divisions?
Divisions for me totally depend on the type of league I have. Now, if I'm in a 10-team league, I actually like to do divisions where you play your own division twice and everybody in the other division once with a 1 all-play week. But I like to switch divisions every year depending on finish, so you don't get stuck in a division where one division's loaded and the other division's not. So I kind of, in my one dynasty league, I go 1st, 3rd, 5th, 7th, 9th is one division, 2nd, 4th, 6th, 8th, 10th is another division, and it flops every year depending on where everybody finishes. That's how I like to do it, just in my 10-team leagues. I'm in a couple ESPN leagues where they don't really do well at adjusting the schedule, and I feel like I play the 3 best teams every year in a redraft as my second game. So I'm in a couple leagues that to try to figure that out, they've gone all one play against everybody, and then a couple all play weeks where it's just the top 5 or 6 scorers get the win. If you have divisions and there's a reason their divisions are playing each other a certain way, then I don't mind them if the schedule's set up that way. If you just have random divisions and it doesn't really matter, then to me, there's no reason to have a division. So like my division, if I have it that way, the division winners, regardless of record, get the 1 and 2 seed in my playoffs. Then the next 2 doesn't depend on division at all. It's the next 2 best records. And then the next 2 spots are total points based, nothing else. So that's how I do it in my big 10-team dynasty league. That's a 2 QB league. It works out because we have 10 teams, so it works out pretty well. In a 12-team league, I don't think it quite sets up as well as that. But if there's a reason for the divisions and you get something for winning your division or doing that, then I think that's fine. But I'm in a couple leagues that we're in divisions, and I don't even know why we're in divisions. It doesn't seem like it makes any sense. It
I
doesn't
wanted
seem
to know
like
where
there's any
you sat
holdover.
before I
So
answered.
so that's for me. If there's a reason for it, I'm all for it. But if it's just like, hey, we have divisions, but there's nothing really holding anything to the division, then I guess it doesn't make much sense to break them up. But if you do break them up, I do like that idea of division winners, and then you look at somewhere of record and points. I
You gotta
always
have
think points. I always think leagues that don't have most overall points getting at least one playoff spot or at least two. Those ones drive me insane. If I'm in those leagues, I complain about it every year until they change it.
So I'm gonna go at it from our dynasty leagues, just because we've mentioned the lottery picks, and I mentioned that was my favorite format, and I think that they should not be there. There's no reason that we should have divisions in this dynasty landscape where you can, whether you have the lottery picks or not, because all leagues aren't created equal. Some aren't using that, but I think you can have too many teams tanking now, and if you have like 2 to 3 of those, or like a higher percentage in one of the divisions, then the records are still going up. I do think that points helps that a little bit by getting some, but I mean, if you have the highest points in one division, and I think the landscape changes a little bit too much. I mean, even you can even have like a 12-team league with no divisions and be in 5th place with high points. And so now you put that into divisions, and you can really get screwed.
All right, so a couple things that I guess because of their home leagues, the divisions mean a little more because of a couple. I manipulate the entire schedule, so week 1 is a play all, and then you play your division opponents in week 2, 3, and 4, and also in week 12, 13, and 14. So it really, in the beginning of the year, so you're not playing your division opponents like, week 2 and 5 when all your guys are hurt and your team's at full strength. So it's beginning of the year and the end of the year. And then we also have a division draft at the end of the year. So whichever division winner was the number 4 in division gets first pick of all the people that didn't make the playoffs.
And then you draft into new divisions.
Then you draft, and it's kind of like making fun of whoever the worst team is.
Which is kind of fun, especially for a home league. I'm not hating on it. It's just not super much for me. I'm in a couple leagues with divisions. I mean, a few, to be honest with you. And sometimes I just spend too much time like looking at the points, the records, and being like, man, I wish I was in that division.
I don't want to play best ball. I don't want to play, just by points. I want to have like 3 or 4 different factors that takes you that you have to do to make the playoffs. I want to make it as challenging as possible for everybody in the league across the board. So that's there's zero trading around the year, around 365 days a year. There's no trade deadline. There's no that kind of stuff. I just like having leagues that have as many rules as possible to keep it even for as many people as possible. So it's the divisions and the division draft and all that kind of stuff is just it's cake because we all get together 3 or 4 times a year. I'm at my league mates. They all live by me, somewhere near me anyway. I'm not going to say they all, but I mean, there's probably half of my leagues are guys I know since kindergarten. Well, a couple of people in each one of my leagues are guys I've known since kindergarten. And it's
that's pretty sweet.
Yeah, and then I found guys. I went on the internet and found people like JT, who's going to be my next league. I found Nick Scripp. I found Joe Castleman, Mike Taglier, all guys I found on Twitter, and said, "Holy shit, you live by me. Would you like to join a home dynasty league?" And it's worked out nice. I had James the Brain in my league, and he died. Unfortunately, I had so many awesome people in this around this area that were in my home leagues, and it's super nice to get a hold of all these people. And people do jump; they come out to my house. Whoever. The other thing too is whoever wins the league gets to pick the draft location. So it's a home field advantage for that kind of stuff too. You get to pick your own local bar, your basement, or your garage, or whatever it is, and you host the draft. So there's a lot of things that go into it.
Yeah, John, a big thing, and I always tell people about me playing. I was in 26 leagues this year, most I've ever been in. But part of the reason I like being in that many leagues, and it still stays interesting to me, is I always tell people the fact that scoring is different leagues. Some leagues have divisions, some don't. Some are best ball, some are overall scoring. Some are super flex, some are 1 QB, some are keeper, some are dynasty, some are complete redraft. To me, then that keeps it interesting. I mean, if I was in 26 super flex dynasty leagues, I don't think I would have very much fun with that. I probably want to get out of some of those. But the fact that I'm in so many that are different standards, different ways that they're going about it, which gives me the opportunity to run different strategies in each league, and still have successful seasons without feeling like. And that's the only thing I feel like in Dynasty sometimes is you're either at a top and you're contending, or you're basically trying to figure out how to bottom out and reset. And then you have that middle ground where you've got guys who can't figure out what they're doing, and you got to kind of go with the same strategy. And then you have everybody fighting over each other because they're all trying to do the same thing. They're all trying to tank or trying to get all the draft picks. So that's what I like about having it. Like I said, with the divisions, when divisions matter, there's a reason behind the divisions. I don't mind it so much, but I'm also in leagues that are like a 14-teamer that there's absolutely no reason to have divisions in that league. So that's why I like it different too. So I don't think there's one way to play anything. I think I definitely know in my big money leagues, the leagues that I matter the most, I definitely care about what the setup is a little more. But I do like the fact that every league's a little bit different. They have nuances and things that kind of separate it from everyday single league. Because if that was the way, I mean, like I said, there's no reason I'd be in that many leagues because everything would feel like exactly the same, and every draft strategy would be exactly the same, and it would 100% depend on where my draft pick was in every draft, as opposed to me thinking about the way it's going to build, where I'm picking, that kind of thing.
Yeah, no, I get it.
I think those are good points, Justin, because John's putting in some work. Like, I don't have a league that has divisions that is set up anything close to what you're doing in your leagues, John. Mm-hmm. So all of the leagues that I'm in that have divisions, it's just kind of like we just have divisions.
Yeah, they're just kind of thrown together. There's no real reason to have the divisions. They're just in a division. Yeah, that makes sense. I was in a couple leagues like that, some older ESPN leagues, and I said the same thing to a couple people. I was like, hey, why do we have divisions in this league? And there was like no real good answer. And I was like, if there's no reason to have them, then let's not have them. Yeah. If there's a reason to have them, like I said, my one league, I have it specifically set up so that you're playing everybody in your division twice, and you're getting that division record, that head-to-head. But then also the fact that it is a dynasty and you switch divisions every year. So it's not like you're going to, hey, one division's loaded with 4 great teams, everybody in the other division's rebuilding every year. And so now you're like, what's the point? I'm 4th in this division always,
exactly.
So that's where I think that's where, especially in Dynasty, you can run into some real issues where you don't change divisions, where you do have that. Okay, now I'm in a division with 4 really good teams. Like I'm in one league, it's broken into 3 divisions, 4 teams per division, and we're in the same division every year. And so it's every once in a while you get to where you have one division that has 4 great teams, and you find yourself missing the playoffs every year because you're playing all those guys in that division twice and getting beat down and then missing the playoffs, even though other teams, had an easier schedule. So again, if there's a reason for the divisions, if they're getting you somewhere, there's money involved where if you win your division, you can get extra, money here, or if it's for bye weeks. But that's why you always got to have those underlying, like, hey, points somewhere gets you in case you are in one of those stacked divisions where you end up 3-10 or 3-11 or something like that, and then you're like, oh, but you were number 3 in the league in points. So I always got to have those little sidebars, something just in case, because that's nothing's more frustrating to be a top 3 or 4 scoring team and missing the playoffs. Mm-hmm. That's when fantasy's not fun and you start going like, why am I even doing this? And you get frustrated.
Right. So I asked before if you give up, like for us, whoever wins the toilet bowl gets the 113 or 213, depending on the league that's set up different for different leagues. Do you guys give prizes for stuff like that, like an extra draft pick for winning the shit bowl?
I love that idea. I'm in a couple leagues that do that. I do one that gets an extra pick at the end of the first round, and I do another one that gives a pick at the end of the second round as like kind of an incentive to keep playing through if you miss the playoffs. Right. In one of my leagues, what I do, I love your idea with the balls for the draft lottery. Mm-hmm. That's a great idea. What I do in one of my leagues, the 4 teams that don't make the playoffs, I make them play a tournament out, and whoever wins gets the number 1 pick. So you have to keep fighting. You can't just take it and automatically get the 1-1. You actually got to win to get that number 1 pick. But also, if you're the worst team in the league, the worst you can get is the 1-4. That's the absolute worst pick you can get. But then you also automatically, if you do have the worst record, you get the first round pick in every other round in the draft. It's just not the top 4. You got to win your way up to get the 1-1. You can't just, tank into it. So that's one of the tanking measures I have in one of my leagues.
Shane, what's the most fab you ever traded for a player?
Man, that's a tough one. I can't answer that question completely honestly. I'm probably more the person that's trying to trade my fab for a player I don't need just so I can trade him to you for a 3rd round pick or something like that.
I just somebody got in the league who wasn't familiar with fab, and they spent their entire budget in week 1. Halfway through the league, they were like completely done. They had a bunch of injuries, and they couldn't even hit the waiver wire. So I traded like 400 fab to I think like 500 of $1,000 fab budget for George Kittle when he was down early in the year.
Nice.
And he didn't. That sounded like a great trade a couple years ago, but Kittle hasn't really burned the league up that
I would put in a waiver claim and spend that much fab on George Kittle.
Oh yeah, but he didn't have any. And the only thing he was good at was tight end. He had Kelsey. I think he had Kelsey, Andrews, and Kittle all on the same team. He drafted those guys earlier, traded for him. It was a redraft league. So
who did he use the money for?
Quarterback. It's a super flex. It was a redraft. 10-team super flex. PPR. A bunch of flex players, stuff like that. So
gotcha. So there were actually available players.
Oh, 10-team leagues drive me nuts.
Yeah.
It's like looking at. It's amazing how many people are left over in a 10-team league. It drives you nuts. Like, how could that guy be on waivers? So you got to be.
I need to make a 2-for-1 trade so I can pick that guy up.
Right. So, yeah. So I did that, and then people recently have been trading fab to players with no fab to like get late 3rd and 4th round draft picks in a bunch of my leagues. So that's something that's.
I never thought about trading fab for draft picks. You think about that. I almost never use up all my fab money. Depends on what league I'm in, but almost never happens.
Yeah.
I need to figure
it if you got it.
I gotta figure out the fab a little bit better. It's like leagues I have $100 in fab in. I'm like, okay, I kind of have a good idea of what a guy might be worth. But man, those leagues where you have like $500 or $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 of fab, I'm like, do I put in a $21 bid, or is that considered nothing in a $1,000 fab league? Do I need to do at least $100 to get anybody? You know what I mean?
It's got to be percentage based. I mean, you look at
making me do math.
But that's the way. I mean, for me, that's the way it is. You have to. It's all like look at it all as $100. I don't care if it's $500, $1,000. I don't care if you want it to be $1 million. It's all the same amount of money. And you need to try to get it to stretch so long. If somebody really hot comes in, you have to pay a little bit more, but it's kind of percentages, like plus a little bit. So if somebody comes up and you want them and you've got $1,000, like spend $513 just so it throws a weird number in there. But yeah, it's all just the same fictional money. But get rid of your money. Go spend it on Brock Purdy or something.
I was just going to say that's why I thought about that, because I looked at one of my leagues today when I was going through all my leagues and trying to figure out waivers. I had like $750 some left in one league, and I was like, I'm going to put that all on Brock Purdy. Even if I don't use them, I'll see if somebody else will trade me once I pick him up. So I was like, I'm just going to put it all on him.
You are frugal.
Yeah, right. See, now you got to find the guy with 0 fab and trade him $500 for a 4th round pick or a late 3rd round pick. That's what you got to do, right? That's the time of year to do this kind of stuff.
That's a good idea. I hadn't thought about offering somebody fab money for that. I'm going to do that in the future.
Yeah, buddy. I do that all the time. I'm that guy. I'd send a wooden chair for something if I could.
What's wrong with a wooden chair?
I'm sitting on one right now. Thank God it's screaming, but I'm sitting on it. It's all right. Yeah, my payouts are 4% for both teams with a first-round bye. The two top teams get a first-round bye, and then 4% for all division winners. So the teams with the first-round bye actually get 8% of the league dues, and then that's it. So there's 6 payouts of 4%, and then the rest goes 70, 25, and 5 for the other 3 players that win the division. They're 1, 2, and 3 at the end of the year.
Yeah, my paying structure is a little different depending on what type of league it is and what we do. But my really big money home dynasty league that we do, the first place a huge payout. If if you make the you make the finals, you're at least getting double your money back of what we paid in. You make the semis, you're at least breaking even. And then the worst places to be is to make the playoffs and not win one game in the playoffs. That's $0, and you have no shot to get the 1-1. So that's the worst possible spot you could be in my league. But at least if you're making the playoffs, if you get anything other than that spot, you're either making your money back or getting half of it back. It's a big $500 league, so that's the way. But we also do a $500 bonus for most points scored for the whole season. So and then I have a couple other leagues where I break out differently. Like I'll give certain amount of money to regular season record. Whoever wins the regular season has the best record gets it. So the most payout is champion, and then also another payout for most points scored. The reason I like to do some of those in those leagues is kind of tiered, where you can actually win more than one. So say you win the regular season, the championship, and most points, you can sweep all three of those and get paid out money for all those. And I've had years where I got most points but finished third, but I won the regular season, and I still ended up with more money than the guy that won it because I won multiple things. So I've kind of gone into their more tiered system of getting paid out, so that's not like all or nothing with the champion, where if you win it, you get a ton of money. If you don't, you basically get nothing.
Yeah, I was in a league last, one before that we charged for transactions. So you had every trade was like $3, or every trade was $5. Every time you hit a waiver wire budget, you drop somebody, it was $1. If you pick somebody up, it was $2, and all that money went toward a league party at the end of the year. It was super cool. People are like, that would deter people from trading. No, trades were $5. Every trade was $5, but it was a dynasty league, so all the money went to the end of the year party. But then people are like, they wouldn't move anything because some people are super cheap. They don't want to spend any money at all whatsoever besides what they put in there. So now we just include that money in the budget.
Yeah, so I have a league. We used to do that too. All the transaction fees would go to help pay for the draft girl the next year. I have a lot of live drafts. We get a draft girl, get up there right on the board, take care of us, get us drinks, all that stuff. So I have leagues that did that. I also had a league where every dollar you spent in fab money was real money. And so at the end of the year, you spent $50 in fab money, you owed an extra $50 towards the pot. And then usually what I do is I would throw that total pot money would be a bonus for an overall scoring champ. So whoever ended up scoring the most money would get the fab pot money. So I've done that as well. I've in other leagues, I've used the fab money. Real money goes in there, but like it helps pay for the trophy for the year. Like John said, it helped pay for like rings for whoever wins. Like I've done odds and ends like that. But I've definitely noticed if you make people pay extra real money to make transactions, it definitely limits how many transactions people are making. They're not going crazy on the waiver wire when they know they've got to pay extra money for guys.
Especially if they even have a hint that they're not going to win the championship, they won't spend another penny. And that is that. All right, so a couple commissioner stuff that was fun. I like these commissioner questions. And let's go to week 14 waiver targets here. Who do you got anyway? Like Jared Goff goes up and down all season long as far as that goes. Obviously, Brock Purdy is kind of the Purdy one that you want to get on your team right now for depth anyway. I'm not sure I'd use him as a starter because I start my team off with two good quarterbacks, no matter what my dynasty leagues. And Tyler Huntley will be a quarterback for a couple weeks. What do you guys think about these, or anybody that I missed, or quarterback wise, anybody that I missed, or you would want to pick up?
I mean, I don't think there's anybody you miss. Jared Goff's a tough one because, like you said, he's been kind of up and down and on and off it. So, man, I'd probably pick up Brock Purdy just because of the schedule. The rest of the way, it's kind of favorable. It is tough, like with guys like us who already have quarterbacks in our lineups to find a place to start him. But I'll take Goff off waivers over Purdy though if he's available.
Yeah, I'm not sure too many dynasty leagues have. Brock Purdy's available in almost actually one of my leagues he's not.
Isn't that crazy? Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know.
Yeah, I'm jumping in and getting Purdy everywhere I can. I'm picking up Tyler Huntley if I can get Tyler Huntley. If I had Lamar Jackson in the two leagues I had Lamar Jackson, I already had Huntley on my bench. Knowing his injury history, I basically already was covering myself. But for the people that didn't have him and don't have Lamar, I'm picking up Huntley if I can pick him up. Either if I'm going to play him or if I'm going to trade him. But I have a bunch of super flex leagues where injuries at QB have murdered me, and I am just struggling to get anyone to play in that second spot. So I'm going to pick a couple of those guys up because if you're anybody like me, I was playing Brissett a lot this whole year in a couple leagues. Obviously, he's out. I don't have Watson in any of those leagues, so now I'm just out my second QB. A couple leagues I got Heineke. Who knows? Wentz is coming back here. Heineke's look great. They're playing well right now, but if Wentz comes back, that knocks out Heineke in about 2 or 3 leagues where I'm playing him as my super flex guy right now. A couple of those leagues I have Wentz as well, so I got myself covered. But 1 or 2 of them I only have Heineke. So there's a couple of leagues. It seems crazy. Like if I'm set at quarterback, I'm probably okay. But like if I got Purdy or Huntley, I'll probably put them in my lineup this week because I don't have a better option in really deep 14 or 12 team start 12 super flex leagues. And those guys seem crazy, but I remember I was looking through some of my opponents' rosters this week, and I'm like, man, I'm not the only guy hurting for a second QB the rest of the way. So, I'm even if you John Wolford for the Rams, if you haven't picked him up yet, I'm looking to pick him up. If I got roster space, obviously the pickup move of Baker Mayfield this week. Let's see how that muddies the waters in LA. I got Baker on a couple teams only because I had every Carolina quarterback because I was so desperate in some of these leagues. So yeah, some of these guys, maybe you keep them in stash, or you look to pick them up just to trade them for something. Some of these leagues, if I can get them, I got to play them.
Yeah. Running back. Cam Akers making a comeback. Zonovan Knight. One of the Seahawks backs, probably Travis Homer or DJ Dallas or Tony Jones. A.J. Dillon was kind of not a thing for a couple. I think everybody's got A.J. Dillon in Dynasty. I think everybody's got, Cam Akers in Dynasty too. Donovan Knight's one that jumped out last week as someone to grab. Travis Homer and DJ Dallas, or Tony Jones especially. I think I've had all 3 of those guys on my team at like 5 or 6 different times. They just get passed around. But it's besides those running backs that we're talking about right there, any other running backs that you might want to pick up or you see in your waiver wires and your leagues that might have a shot at playing somewhere this week?
Hey, John, I got a real quick question for you guys. What would be your number 1 pickup for the Seahawks running backs? I was just staring that down today in a couple leagues where all those guys were available, and I'm like, which guy do I put in for? I didn't have enough room to drop multiple players for them. But if you had to choose one, who do you go? Do you go Dallas? Do you go Homer? I mean, who are you guys thinking that might end up being the starter if Walker doesn't play?
I think I'd go Homer personally if I had to pick.
I think that my sights have been set on Tony Jones just because I think everybody else got hurt. Everybody else is nicked up with injuries, and he may have the best opportunity. I don't like Tony Jones as much as I like some of the other guys, but he may have the most opportunity. So that's my only reasoning for saying Tony Jones. But I would rather have probably Homer or DJ Dallas, obviously, over those guys, but or over Homer Jones. Sorry, but I just this week alone anyway. I think if I'm going to spend the least amount of fab and trying to keep some of it, and be able to maybe get something for the future, I'm just going to pick up Tony Jones and see how that works out for me.
Or just stay away from that whole situation and get
That's the right
Knight
answer.
or Cam Akers is probably rostered at this point, but
yeah, I had a couple leagues I am just dire for RB2 that, I mean, my team is decimated. I already didn't have a lot of running backs, and so I'm looking at it, I was like, hey, can I maybe pick up one of those guys as a plug and play at least for a week or two if I got a team that has a shot at making the playoffs? That's what I was wondering. So I couldn't decide. I was looking at all the different sites to see who had Homer and who had Dallas, and I couldn't figure out which was the guy to go with. But you like Homer a little bit more?
I mean, that's just it. This chopping it up with you guys and talking about it doesn't sound like we really like the situation at all. We're kind of wishy-washy, and I'm going with Homer. I get it with Jones. I mean, he's flashed a little in the NFL at times. So is Homer. I feel like Homer probably knows the offense a little bit better. DJ Dallas, if healthy's the pass catcher that I'd want, but I'm probably just avoiding it altogether. And I feel like Zonovan Knight has that role for you. Maybe even when Michael Carter's back. If Akers is available, though, would he just get 17, 18 touches?
Yeah, 2 touchdowns.
I'm not thinking that anybody dropped Cam Akers, even though for a whole half a season and a little bit this year, he wasn't doing. He was pretty much almost a droppable player. But somebody may have traded him, or somebody may think right now that he's hurt again, or he's going to screw him again like he screwed him before. So I tried to trade for Cam Akers if I possibly could, but I think the guys who drafted Cam Akers in the first round before are probably not letting him go now that he's making a resurgence.
Yeah, he's probably the only way you're going to find him probably on waivers is if it's a redraft league, or a league with a short bench that he was out of it for a while. And somebody dumped him early on when they said they were going to trade him, and he maybe is sitting out there in a league like that.
Every one of my leagues is 12 teams, 30 or 35 players, so none of these guys are on my waiver wire whatsoever. So I'm just trying to, figure out some.
I'm in a bunch of leagues with only like 16, 17 that are redraft leagues, only have 16, 17 spots. So you can see and find some of these guys sometimes because they're just redrafts. So there's always a lot of room of people getting dropped and picked up, or somebody has a bye and then another injury and they drop a player they don't want to drop at all, but they like trying to find a spot. So every once in a while you can jump in there and find a really good player that somebody got rid of they didn't want to, and then you can jump in and pull them back off the waiver before they can get back on them. Because a lot of times guys think I'll drop them, nobody will notice, and I'll jump in and pick them right back up as soon as my game's over, and then you just got to keep an eye on that.
I was in a league before, a redraft league. It was 10 teams, like 15 players, and it had a kicker and a defense also. And I'm like, what the, like this week I'd pick up Josh Jacobs or something like that on waivers. I was like, dude, this is ridiculous. It drives me nuts how big the waiver wire is in those leagues. There's no skill involved. It's just you can pick whoever you want to whenever you want to. So, wide receiver: Nico Collins, Elijah Moore, Van Jefferson, guys like that. Who else? Who are you targeting this weekend on the waiver wire? You guys, go ahead first, Shane.
Man, I love Nico of this list of Elijah Moore. If he's available, I think that he's safe now. Probably Elijah Moore of this group. If Nico's there, I really like Nico. Somebody you didn't mention that maybe deeper leagues where these guys are is go see about Tutu Atwell, see if he gets a little bit more work going forward.
Holy cow, that guy's like 5'6", like 132 pounds. Like I don't know how. Like I don't trust him at all in the NFL.
Well, I don't want him on like a rebuild situation, more of a contention and keep away from you type thing. There's no weapons there. I wouldn't be surprised if McVay uses him a little bit more.
I could see that in a deep league, a 14-team league. We're starting, 12 guys, something like that. He definitely could be a player that, with all the injuries and buys and everything that's happened, he could be a guy who can sneak in that flex spot for you and go, hey, you're going to play somebody that's already going to score you 2 or 3 points, but maybe he gets you a big touchdown like he did last week in a sneaky play.
To be clear, I want everybody on this list, Nico, Elijah, and Van Jefferson over Tutu. But I'm in my dynasty leagues. All those guys are also rostered.
Yeah, absolutely. Tight ends. We saw what happened. The tight ends actually absolutely killed me, knocked me out of the fishbowl this year for Kelsey and Kittle, or Kelsey and Andrews just kind of crapping all the field. Although sweet Greg Dulcich, I have him in pretty much every fantasy league. I drafted him well ahead of everybody else on purpose because I love the guy. He had a good week, but I saw it today. I was talking to a couple people, and this is like the 4th ever worst week for tight ends. Like the number 1 tight end scoring, which is Greg Dulcich, was like the number 4 worst all-time week that on record that for scoring wise. So it's you can't trust tight ends whatsoever anywhere ever. It's one of those deals.
It's brutal. I had one league I started Dulcich and Otten, and they each scored. I didn't think that a lot, but they actually scored way more than everybody else. I was like, oh, all right, it's a nice little surprise for me, even though they didn't score a bunch and nobody else scored anywhere else either.
Otten's, I drafted him actually in the 5th round in a couple places, and then I let him go. I'm like, he's not going to pan out. It's going to be a couple years, and then he's actually surprising. I had an eyeball on him earlier. I let him go, and I've made 15 roster moves since then. But I've come full circle. I want to start picking up Otten again, but I think the word's kind of already out that he's getting some targets, and he's, any kind of tight end that gets you anything is worth their weight in gold now. So
and if you watch the end of that Tampa Bay game, Tom Brady was looking for him a ton down the stretch. So that's a guy in a huge situation that Brady's giving him looks on the last the last 1 minute drive. He got like 3 or 4 targets on that last drive. So, I mean, to me, I'm like, that tells you something if Brady's looking at him that often at that big of a situation. So I like him. Cameron Brate with the injuries, it's just giving him all kinds of opportunities.
I'm watching the end of that game yesterday, and I needed Chris Godwin. I was down by 1.2 points to Steven Johnson, and I'm like, yes. Godwin had a couple catches. I'm like, he had Rashad White. I had Chris Godwin. I was down by 1.6 points. Godwin catch that touchdown. I'm like, yeah. I'm on the message board, MF and everything. Yeah, this. And then they call it back. I'm like, motherfucker.
I knew that was going to screw a lot of people. I was like, oh, man, that Godwin callback. I got him on only 2 teams where I was like, oh, that's going to bury a couple people.
And then it goes to Rashad White, and then Steven Johnson's on there, but you put the wrestling, so it was absolutely terrible. It was, it could have been worse, happy and sad 15 seconds of my life, but that's how we play, I guess,
Yep, that's the way it goes.
Injuries. Jimmy Garoppolo, San Francisco, no surgery, but he may be back for the regular season, but he will not be back for the fantasy football season, so probably not anyway. Lamar Jackson, knee, Tua, ankle. I tell you what, I don't know if Tua's ankle is the situation here. Did you see the hit that Tua took in that game? I don't know if you guys watched it or not. He was throwing the ball, and someone hit him right in the ribs and then landed on top of him, and his whole arm was completely bent sideways. It looked bad. I thought he really got hurt, and I was kind of afraid of the situation there. I wonder if it's really his knee or they're just disclosing. I hope nothing's wrong with him, but it was his throwing arm and stuff too. His lefty, he's lefty, so he got hit like this, but it was bad. And speaking of bad, the Trevor Lawrence one, his whole body spun around. I thought for sure people were on my message board saying, "Thank God I didn't trade for Trevor Lawrence." And I'm like, okay, well, and then I got back to him when Trevor came up in the second half, came walking out. I put the what's his name, Conor McGregor walking out of the tunnel kind of thing. So I can't believe that he avoided injury on the hit that he took too. That spinning, I thought he was going to do one of those Alex Smith spiral fracture kind of things.
I was losing my mind. I've got him on so many teams, and I had so many teams that are in the hunt for it. And if he goes out in the Superflex or 2 QB league, I'm totally finished in 10 or 12 leagues. I saw him get hit, and I was like, it's over. I was on the ground. Yep. I'm like, he is broken, his ankle, his knees ripped in half. That hit looked horrendous. I have no idea how he came back in that game. That looked freaking awful. It was amazing. I was literally, my girlfriend's looking at me what's wrong? I'm like, it's over. Everything's done. The whole season. I'm like, it's up in shit. I was like, it's up in flames. I can't believe he played. It came back and played. It was amazing. But also, when we're talking about Tua, he needs to go to the Tom Brady how not to take bad hits class or something. Tua seems like he gets the biggest, most awkward, weird hits every week. I know it's standing in there and you want to take a hit and you want to deliver the football, but it's every hit he takes seems crazy angles, all weird. He lands hard. He lands weird. It's he having him on a bunch of teams scared me too. I was like, you're just one hit away from it all being over.
The funny thing is that he's able, because he's lefty, the best player on the field is, generally speaking, the right defensive end. That's why the left tackle is your best player. He has a first-hand look at the best player on the defense because he's faced that way. And he still gets hit all the time by the best player on the defense every game. And it's dude, how does that work, man? You can see this guy coming. You can see the best defensive end on every team coming at you without getting blindsided, and you still get hit all the time. So, whatever. I'm not a big Tua fan. I know a lot of people like him. Half his stats were from the second half of one game this year, it feels like. I know he's got a lot of he's got 5-yard dump-offs that turn into 75-yard completion touchdowns. And it's dude, come on, man. Without these slants and 5-yard ins and stuff like that, it's maddening to watch that guy. He takes 3 steps.
That's just smart football, John. That's just smart football.
You know what?
Dump it off and let your players make plays, baby.
That's it's right. And I've been a Dolphins fan my entire life. That's the funny thing. And just to see this him doing it, and I don't know why I can't root for the Dolphins this year. I think all this shit that happened the last couple of years, I'm just kind of changing the logo and looking stupid, and then having all the other
stupid
looking stupid. Yeah, there's this stupid fish on there now. It doesn't even have a helmet on. It doesn't play football, So I don't.
How dare they not have a dolphin?
The Dolphins stopped playing football. Once the Dolphins stopped playing football, I was out.
As soon as the Dolphin took off the helmet, that was it for me.
We're out. So anyway, all that stuff with the You know, the manager, like doing the owner, like doing stuff too and everything. I'm like, you know what? I just want to be. Why couldn't I be a Bills fan like growing up? I love Dan Marino. It's the only reason I even like the Dolphins. Do I have to like the Dolphins my whole life because I like Dan Marino? Like I love Josh Allen now. Can I just switch and be a Bills fan because I like Josh Allen?
Yeah,
You can if you
Buffaloes
want.
don't need helmets, right?
So you can switch. That's fine. NBA fans do it all the time. They just go to whoever LeBron's playing for, or whoever you know. You can do it. That's what NBA fans do. It's a lot, I guess.
Okay, I like the Bears in the NFC. So I just need a favorite AFC team, which was the Dolphins. But now I want to be a Bills fan. I think the organization is awesome. They're always competing. I would have saw 4 Super Bowls as a kid. I would have saw all this other stuff going on. I lived with nothing but misery and garbage with the Dolphins for the last 20 years after Marino left. And it's like, it's terrible. Anyway, let's end of rant. Okay.
Now they're winning, and I hate them.
It's terrible. Yeah. I don't think they're gonna. I don't know. Whatever. I'm gonna leave that alone because whatever. Kenneth Walker jammed his ankle. Aaron Jones, tough dude, but it's one of those things where everybody gets nicked up a little bit this part in the season. So, any other running backs that I missed here? I kind of swept through the injuries. Any other big injuries from running backs?
It's thinning. It's just thinning out right now. It's just crazy. I mean, if you're in a league and you've got 2 playable guys at this point, you're probably pretty happy about it because it's between bye weeks, ton of guys on bye with this week with Colts, Bears, Packers. I mean, it's just a million guys on bye week. My second RB in a few leagues is going to be real ugly this week. I already know.
Yeah, I got Stevenson, Gibson, and Pacheco are my only 3 running backs on the team because everybody else is gone. Javante's gone. Like all my other players are gone, and it's like, man. And then now it's Gibby's on bye this week, so it's like it's all I have is Pacheco and Stevenson. And it's like, come on, man. And I'm in a must-win game. Like I said, we have we play 3 division games with your division opponents. You play the 1 week is a playoff where you get a win, loss, or tie, depending on whoever scores the middle points gets a tie. So it's pretty nice. But this 3rd game is me and Nick Script in my division, and it's the last week of the season. Right now, it's projected to be 50-50, the score at the end by sleeper stats anyway. He's won a game. I've won a game. Whoever wins this last game is going to take the division and everything. And then if Nick doesn't beat me, he's out of the playoffs because if I lose, I could still make the playoffs by my points, but he doesn't have enough points to make the playoffs is what it's kind of come to right now. So it's a great situation. It's why I don't know. It's just, that's why divisions are cool to me because of stuff like that, But let's see. Wide receiver Treylon Burks. I mean, that guy gets beat up all the time. He seems like he's going to be one of those guys who's just going to be injury prone his whole career. OBJ damaged goods. I mean, the Cowboys only wound now, and they were the ones tooting his horn. So that's kind of a situation. Scott, somebody just traded. We'll talk about trades later, but somebody just traded in one of my leagues. Scott Sidlow traded for a win now. And he just got burned, it seems like, because that's not going to happen. But I don't know. Any other wide receiver stuff that I missed? Big injury wide receiver-wise? Probably not, right?
I don't think so, man.
Yeah, it's pretty thin out there right now. I mean, I think I went and picked up Hodges for the Giants in a couple leagues because I've got a couple wide receiver teams are just I got no wideouts. I'm begging for anybody just to throw in a flex spot. So he's about the only other guy I saw out there that if he was out there, I was picking him up and throwing him in my lineup this week if I needed it.
He scored 2 weeks in a row. He scored and he had the 1 touchdown call back, and then he scored again last week. So,
yep.
I mean, he's getting some throws. I like him. He's undrafted. There's nobody else on that team, so it is what it is.
Kenny Galladay still can't figure out how to ever get in the lineup on a Giants team with their 6th-string wide receivers in the game. That situation just blows my mind.
Yeah.
We've got into that before.
Should have played a flute.
All right, here we go. Listen, I'm gonna let Justin take the odds, and you take the evens. We're gonna fly through all teams real fast. Justin, listen, you got like 15 seconds at most for each team, all right? I got to tell him this and it's a 4-hour conversation, so. Real fast odds, Justin. Here we go. Bears. We want them to get experience and lose for a better pick. Again, mission accomplished. True or false?
True. Everything's going great for the Bears. Offense is looking good. Defense is terrible, but they got some young guys looking good, and they're losing. Staying on the high draft pick. You gotta love it. For Bears fans, everything you want right now.
All right, evens. Over to you. Bengals. Will Mixon get his workhorse roll back when he comes back from injury?
I think he will. I think Mixon's better than Sam JP, Ryan.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Bills, is Josh Allen figured out now? Is he just having coming back from an injury? Is he figured out now, or what's going on?
I think this just happens in football. You're going to have these lulls where guys have some bad games. I mean, you saw it last year out of Mahomes mid-season. Everybody was like, "Oh, what's wrong with Patrick Mahomes?" And then he lit it up at the end of the year. I think it's just a little bit of a mid-season lull. I still like the Bills, still like Josh Allen for sure going the rest of the way.
The Broncos, I mean, this has been going around for a while, but 12 bathrooms in Russell Wilson's house, 8 touchdowns. Is he getting 12 touchdowns before the season ends?
No, he's not. He should have to get rid of the bathrooms too. The difference.
How long? Okay, the Browns. How long until Watson gets his sea legs underneath him?
I know the guy's a professional, but dude hasn't played in 2 years. People forget about that. He has not played in 2 years. You cannot expect a guy, I don't care about practice, whatever else, just to come back and be awesome, be a top 5 guy. I honestly think this is going to be a couple weeks worth at least of some growing pains for the Browns, getting him back in there. Plus, you just all the distraction. I mean, I don't think people realize how much that takes a toll on your teammates when they're answering questions about you all the time and having all the media around you all the time. I think this is going to be a rough couple weeks for the Browns.
Buccaneers, why does Tom Brady love getting Chris Godwin hurt all the time? I mean, he just loves getting a slot receiver put in bad situations all the time. And why does this happen?
He doesn't like his eating diet. It's like I told you so.
There you go. Cardinals, will running back be their biggest need into going into the draft?
Question. I mean, James Conner is good when he's there. He's been when he's healthy. He's been pretty solid for them. Injuries have always been an issue with him. That team needs so many things right now. I don't know if running back's the one thing I'm concentrating on. I can see them maybe going a guy in the 3rd or 4th round. I don't see them jumping up and taking someone real high with all the other holes they have on that team.
Right. Chargers. Why are the Chargers so mid when they're supposed to be so good?
I mean, they haven't had a whole lot of weapons this year. I thought they were going to be better. This is a tough one, man. We need way more than 15 seconds for this.
You don't get 15 seconds. That's it.
Who's more overpriced Charger, Keenan Allen or an Apple Charger?
Man, Keenan Allen is so good. I wish
he is so good.
Injury stuff.
That was more fun when it was Phillip Rivers.
Are the Chiefs the best team in the league?
I mean, they think they're always up there. I mean, anytime you have Mahomes, you're in the mix. I mean, they're going to have some bad games, some good games, but I think they're probably the best team. To me, them and the Bills in the AFC, best teams. Eagles in the NFC.
All right. Shane, Colts, how bad are I mean, I want you to rail on the Colts right now because I know
says
some guy
Colts. Like, that's my question. Colts. The Colts are so bad that I'm surprised we haven't at least seen Nick Foles start or something. Like, the Colts are pretty bad. We've seen Ellinger, but no Nick Foles.
Justin's
I love how you did let me have that one.
Colts season ticket holder, so I wanted you to rail on the Colts as long as you can.
Just says Colts.
Commanders, why isn't Gibson being used more?
I don't understand why they're not using him more often. I mean, Robinson's played well, but they've got to mix him in a little bit more. But, I mean, I tell you what, I said this to a couple people. If only every QB looked at their wide receiver one like Heineke looks at Terry McLaurin.
It's
unbelievable. He loves him. He goes to every big play, every huge situation. He doesn't care if it's triple coverage. He finds Terry McLaurin. I want all my QBs to do that. I love.
And then everybody thinks Heineke's so amazing because he's making McLaurin relevant again. But it's like he's got one read and he's using it.
Hey, you got to do. If you're Taylor Heineke, I would be doing the exact same thing.
Oh, for
sure.
Doing
the exact same thing. I love it. I love that he does it. It makes Terry McLaurin so much better, and it makes me like Taylor Heineke so much more.
There you go. Cowboys. Do the Cowboys even need OBJ?
No.
Yeah, short answer. 0. Dolphins is too overrated.
Depends on where you rate him. I think he's a pretty solid quarterback. I think he's got a lot of upside still. I mean, I don't think he's anywhere. I don't think he's top 10 right now, but I think he's shown a lot of ability, and he's got the right system, and he's got the right wide receivers. I think that's making a huge call. But hey, he's doing what he needs to right now.
tongue-in-cheek question here: is AJ Brown almost as good as Devonta Smith? I'm a big Devonta Smith guy, so this is a
He's
joke question.
almost as good, John. They're pretty. They're getting closer. Whichever way you want to go with that.
There you go. Good answer. Falcons, should they draft a quarterback or just build a team up? They need a lot of help.
Really interesting there. I mean, they took Ritter. I mean, I guess seeing what they think of Ritter here in the offseason, they do need a lot of help everywhere. It's not like if they just got a new QB, that team would be great all of a sudden. If I'm them, I probably don't go QB this year. I probably look to fill some other spots. And if I don't like Ritter after next year, I go QB next year, because it's not like they're not going to be a top 10 team again next year as far as in the draft. So I probably skip QB unless somebody falls to me late.
All right. For Niners, Mr. Irrelevant Brock Purdy will win the Super Bowl for the Niners. True or false?
Is Jimmy G not the sexiest man on crutches?
He is the sexiest man in anything.
And then you go to Brock Purdy. It's so fitting. Hell yeah, he's going to win a Super Bowl.
Yeah, straight.
I've met Jimmy G in person. I can assure you he is just as good looking in person as he is on TV.
Right?
Yeah, there's some handsome guys
Even
on
on
crutches right
crutches.
now, but
He's going to be an old man with a walker, just like reeling them in.
that dude gets laid like the Pope, dude. I mean, it's ridiculous. Giants are the Giants going to sign? Are the Giants going to sign Saquon? Are the Giants going to sign Saquon Barkley?
I think they're going to. I don't know how they don't. The question is, what was that contract going to look like? These monster contracts for RBs are just not working out for anyone but the RBs, and they just keep getting cut in a year or two. So I think they'll figure out a way to get a deal done with him. But it'll be interesting to see how they structure it, because I'm guessing they're going to structure it where they can cut him in 2 years if they need to. But I don't see a deal where they don't get something done with him.
Jaguars. Trevor Lawrence is great. His wide receivers are not. With Calvin Ridley coming back in a really good draft pick, probably wide receiver next year, do you think that Trevor Lawrence is going to be unleashed next year?
Yeah, I don't think it'll have anything to do with Calvin Ridley.
You know what? He's on the team now, but I just tell you what.
He is, man.
He kind of gave up football a little bit. I don't know if I was the only one that kind of thought that way, but he kind of punted on even playing with the Atlanta when he was still on the team, and then he got in trouble, and that was kind of it. But
And
yeah,
then even like we just talked about with Watson at quarterback, and now Ridley at wide receiver. I mean, he hasn't played for, 2-3 years by then. He's been out, new system. He's going to be 29, right? Something like that. Like, he's not a young guy.
I mean, it's like Michael Thomas. I know he's had injuries, but Michael Thomas, same way, sat out forever. I mean, the guy has not been the same. You can't been able to count on him in almost 3 years now.
Yeah. So I think if Ridley's there, he could help Trevor Lawrence. I think Trevor Lawrence is going to be okay. I love the shade that you threw on Christian Kirk, and we just like skipped right over it. But you're probably right, though. Christian Kirk's probably not great, but I think he's good, and I think Trevor Lawrence could be great.
Yeah, but they need to add a wide receiver in the draft, and I think
I agree.
T-Law has a huge ceiling next year. They can add a wide receiver to that group, and maybe one more lineman. I think they had a shot to be really good on offense next year.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
Oh, we might have
John
lost.
go?
Oh, I think we lost John there for a
Because
second.
I said something about Christian Kirk, and he was like,
well, here
freaking
we'll let you jump in. I know he's going in order somewhere in there, so we're probably on like the Jets.
Well, the next one's supposed to be you. It's Jets. Mike
is the
White
Jets.
to Garrett
That's awesome.
Wilson is the future.
I don't think so. I like Mike White though. This Mike White has been interesting. I've been not a Zach Wilson guy from the very beginning, so I have him only on one team that I took over as an orphan. So, and I really wish I had him on the trade block all season. I really wish I could have moved him before all this was a disaster, because now I just know I'm going to eat him no matter what. There's just nothing I'm going to be able to do about it. Garrett Wilson, I love though. I think he's going to be great. The Jets got some pieces if they can put something together, but question is, all they've done, do they turn around and go right back to QB in the draft again next year after they just took one? Maybe they do, but it's all, Arizona did it. They went back-to-back QBs in the first round, but I hate to do that, but maybe that's what you do for the Jets.
Jets do it every 2 or 3 years. They change it up a little bit. So man, my question is supposed to be is Lion Swift is about to go nuts, and I would say so. I'm all about this one. Like I think the Jamal owners are gonna wish that they'd gotten rid of him, and Swift is about to take his backfield back over.
Yeah, he's got limited touches, but he's been great. Every
Yep.
time he touches the ball, he just looks dynamic. I'm playing him in leagues even when he wasn't getting touches because you just never know when he's going to bust off a huge one. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm all in on the Swift train. I think next thing is up is Green Bay. AJ Dillon, you got to get him in Dynasty. I'm still not sold on the AJ Dillon train. I know he's had some good games here and there. If you got him, you're probably holding him. I don't know what it would take to get him in a trade, but you'd probably have to really want him to steal him away from somebody. I personally, if I don't already have him, I'm not going to go out and send too much. I'm probably not going to send enough to get him where I need to.
That's the tough spot with AJ Dillon because you tried to get him at the beginning of the year and you couldn't. Then everybody wanted to get rid of him, and now they're gonna want him again. What's this question with the Panthers?
What is up with the Panthers? Yeah, what's up with the Panthers in general? I mean,
John's back to save the day.
They're dropping
Holy
Baker.
cow,
Now they got Darnold, so it's like, where do the Panthers go from here?
John, what's question 22 on the Panthers? What am I supposed to say?
Oh, so there was a couple things I'm like, man, what am I supposed to say about these teams? So, kind of like the same thing at the Colts. Just where the state of the Panthers right now? How bad is it?
It's pretty bad, but I think we're gonna get to see Sam Darnold get another shot. And I liked what I saw with him and DJ Moore. They just got rid of Baker. I think that's Sam Darnold's now. And they're coming out of the bye week. We'll see how they end the season. But the state's pretty bad, man. But they're almost in the situation where they're not going to draft a quarterback, right?
Yeah, that's me. I mean, where are they going to end up in the draft? Who's going to be there when they're available?
So,
and you've already kind of got the money in Darnold. If he plays decent enough, do you go, hey, let's fix every other position if we can, and then we'll come back to quarterback next year if we have to.
Yep. McCaffrey's happy to be gone.
Yeah.
He doesn't even care who his quarterback is. It's not on the Panthers.
So where did you guys leave off at?
We're up to 23. We're up to the Patriots. We've been moving along without you.
You're up to 30?
We're up to the Patriots.
Where are you at now? You said 30?
23, the Patriots.
Okay.
How good can Mac Jones be?
All right. How good can Mac Jones be?
I mean, I think he's got a decent upside. I don't know if he's ever going to be a huge fantasy QB as far as stats wise. I think he could be a good real life QB. Biggest question for us is, I mean, the issue is, it's what have you done for me lately everywhere in the world. So, he has one down week. Everybody's off on Mac Jones. He has a good week. Everybody's like, oh, wait, he could be really great. You just got to kind of take the highs with the lows. I mean, the guy's a second year, on not a dynamic offense with many offensive players around him. I think you just got to give him a chance, got to get some time to grow. I wouldn't get in a hurry either way with Mac Jones.
Yeah, I think I kind of agree with you, man.
How long can Josh Jones keep it? How long can Josh Jones keep this, or Josh Jacobs keep this up for? I mean, he's getting used like something I've never seen.
As long as he's healthy.
The 80s.
As long as he's healthy, man, until the end of the year.
Are they going to franchise tag him, or?
I think he probably gets the franchise tag. I mean, if we're going into next year, I do have my concerns like in Dynasty, but I think he probably gets the tag the way he's been playing. And I mean, hopefully they give him some kind of deal. I think the kid deserves it at this point. He's still young. I think he's 24? Somewhere in there, just a few months removed from Najee Harris, I think. So
yeah, I mean, if you're going to sign a guy to extension as an RB out of rookie contract, I mean, Josh Jacobs might be one of the best guys because he is still young. I mean, if you sign him to a 4-year deal, you're going to get that 4 years till he's 28. That historic 28 drop off. And the way he's played, I mean, I'd sign him out. Again, I don't think these running backs are going to be able to get gigantic monster contracts. And if they do, they're going to get them with that where the team can get out after 2 years or 3 years max. So, but I could see them getting a deal done with him. seems like the Raiders like him, especially with the change with the head coach and everything else going on. GM, I could see them coming back and being like, let's keep him around.
They just got to franchise tag him though, right? They're not going to sign him anything long term, probably.
I think it just depends. I think they'll try to franchise tag him if they can get a deal done that's not astronomical. I think they could do it. I mean, Josh Jacobs kind of seems like a reasonable guy to me. It depends on what his agent wants to do, but I could see him being like, "Hey, let's take a solid deal and let's stay here. You know, I'm playing well, and you know." But you never know with those guys. But they definitely are going to franchise tag him and try to sign him, I think.
The Rams have no picks, no money, no nothing, and their team's falling apart. Like, how bad is the Rams going to be next year?
Justin, this is actually your question.
Oh, I'll jump in. Well, I'm really me trading everything I had for Cooper Kupp in a league to try to put him with Matt Stafford to win the title this year has blown up in my face big time. Man, the Rams did what you had to do to win it all. I give them that. They did it and they won it, but man, they look like they could be real rough here come the future. They still have a pretty good defense when they're healthy. They just got to figure out how to plug and play some guys on offense. Stafford really worries me. I don't know how much
retires. Stafford's done.
I kind of think he's done too. I really do. I don't think Stafford's going to stick around, especially if this team becomes a rebuild. I can see him just saying, "Hey, I got my title. I'm out."
Absolutely. Ravens. Should Lamar Jackson just sit out the rest of the season and screw over the Ravens for
this
not
is awesome, John, because I haven't thought about this for some reason, and this would be awesome if he did. And I'm not even the hugest Lamar guy, as you know, but this would still be kind of funny if he decided to do this. The downside of it for Lamar Jackson is that they'd be like, well, Tyler Huntley played better than you anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
Here's something I just thought about. What if Lamar ends up getting all mad about the situation, everything happens, and what if they go, we already have a team that runs the ball really well. Let's get a guy that runs the ball better than the guy we have, and what if the Falcons sign him? I can see the Falcons going after Lamar Jackson.
Be a nice spot for him. Yeah, I'd do that. That's
what happens with Lamar without Shanahan?
That's a good question. I
just think the Falcons run that type of offense where they pound the rock, they let the QB run the ball, and he doesn't have to throw a million times a game. It kind of feels like the old school Lamar when he had that, MVP season where they just ran play action and he just threw bombs whenever they weren't running the ball down people's throats. It kind of feels like almost a perfect fit. Slide him right over to Atlanta. He's got some good wide receivers there and a chance to add some more talent.
Well, for the Saints, Lamar Jackson, Aaron Rodgers, who's going to be the quarterback one for next season? Now, you're saying Atlanta, but, I mean, there's a lot of places that these guys can end up at.
Is this my question?
Yes.
Gardner Minshew to the Saints starting week 1.
That would be terrible.
I would love that.
Like that. I actually like that.
Better than Aaron Rodgers or Lamar Jackson.
Why not? Why not Gardner Minshew if they got Andy Dalton? They're going Andy Dalton right now every week. Why would you give Gardner Minshew a chance?
2 words, why not? Jameis Winston, baby. He's the best quarterback in the league.
I don't understand why they're not playing. Well, I don't understand why they're not playing him. But my thing is, how are they going to go into next season thinking about playing him when they didn't play him this whole year?
I'm sorry.
It doesn't make any sense to me.
His stats were amazing when he was with the Bucs and they were always playing from behind. That was awesome.
Sorry, but I'm the world's biggest Jameis Winston fan, so,
I would like to see him get a chance, but there's just no way you're the Saints that you go into next year thinking Jameis is your starter.
Right.
When you had him all this year, and you basically sat him the whole year behind Andy Dalton for no reason. So I just can't.
Seems not right.
If he's going to have to be somewhere else next year. I just don't see how Jameis is still on the Saints next year.
I get it. Geno Smith looks better every week. When did they finally sign him to a long-term contract?
This is going to be the most perplexing thing to happen in the offseason. Is like, what do you do with Geno Smith? You wanted him to play well. You put all your eggs in his basket, saying, no, we really think he's good. Did they really think he was that good? I don't know. But, man, he's played great. But if I'm a GM, do I go and throw a huge contract at Geno Smith? No freaking way. But that's just me. I don't do it. Maybe Geno will be like, hey, I played in the league a long time. I'll take like a 1 or 2, year deal that's way up front. I just can't see the Seahawks and any team signing
What's a huge
big
deal for Geno Smith? Just to be clear, because we know he's not going to get like
I mean, there's no way you can sign him more than like a 2 to 3 year max deal, right? You can't sign him to like a 4 or 5 year contract, can you?
So like 2 to 3 years with 2 years.
Yeah, like a team option in the third. That's what I kind of what I'm thinking.
15 to 18 million a year.
I was thinking 20, but you're on the right path. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's to me. If you could get him for a reasonable price, you're not in total rebuild right now. You got some draft picks. That's a good value.
Yes.
But I think if you get that, I think if you're the Seahawks, just boom, sign it right away. Mm-hmm. But will he go for that? Will his agent go for that? Who knows? But man, I just can't see any team coming in over the top and being like, oh yeah, here you go, Gino, 5 years, $20 million a year. I just because whoever does that is going to be the next GM that gets fired. That's not going to work out. It just isn't.
Steelers, is Najee just good against bad run defenses, or is he really good?
Man, I tell you, man, he's getting healthy. Najee's really good. He's not the best, but Najee's really good. He's getting healthy.
I agree. I think he's getting healthy. Plus, I think they finally talked to him a little bit. He was trying to run very slow, like he was trying to let holes develop, and they weren't. And he was losing yards. And I think they finally got in his ear, and they said, hey, guy, we just do not block that well. You could do that when we get better, but you can't do that right now. You just got to put your head down and get yards. And he's run much more headstrong right away, making quick decisions as opposed to chopping in the holes like he did the first 5, 6, 7 weeks of the year. He's definitely looking like he's making decisions faster and moving the ball. I'm buying Najee if people are out on him. I'm still in on Najee. I think he's still got a lot of upside.
Yep.
Texans, Kyle Allen cost me a fishbowl win. Are we going back to Davis Mills or staying with Kyle Allen?
Definitely do not start Davis Mills in your Scott Fishbowl.
I don't understand the change in the first place. I would have stayed with Mills and just see what you had. I mean, it's not like there's no way you thought going to Allen all of a sudden was going to be the thing that puts you over the top. It makes no sense.
What kind of flex move was that anyway? We're going to just put this guy in that we know is worse than you.
Right. I think they're trying to tank. I honestly think they're trying to tank is why they did that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Titans, is Derrick Henry washed?
I don't think he's totally washed. He has not looked good the last couple of weeks, but you got to look at it. They played some pretty good teams the last couple of weeks who have pretty good run defenses. I mean, sometimes you're just going to have down weeks. I don't think that he's bad. I just think sometimes we get into this thing where guys have a couple bad weeks and we're like, oh, he's done, he's finished. I don't think so. I still think they're going to lean on him heavy down the stretch here. I'm counting on Derrick Henry to put up some points during the fantasy playoffs.
Are the Vikings the best team in the NFC?
Yeah.
Probably, right?
Yeah.
I would think so.
Yeah. Who would have thought?
Yes. All right, real fast. You guys, neither one of you guys were here last week, and we kind of got through some of these trades, but there's been a couple. These are all trades that happened in my home leagues. Nothing else, nowhere else on the internet. They're on the internet somewhere, but these are all stuff that happened in my home leagues. Jalen Reagor and Denzel Mims for early 24 fourth. Would you do that?
I'd probably just keep my fourth. I don't see the point.
Because there's a guy out there who loves Denzel Mims, and he wants to just have one more shot at him, and his name's John McGlynn. So
hey. He's like,
dude,
that's the
for
point.
A fourth round, if you could throw those two guys and just throw them against the wall, I mean, I don't think you lost any value there.
I mean, I agree. Yeah, nothing's there.
These leagues are 12-team Dynasty Superflex, PPR, tight end premium 0.75, the 12 starters, quarterback, 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, a tight end, a couple flexes, and then 20 bench spots. So 30-man deep. So that's just to give you an idea of what we're up against, in case I didn't say that yet. But Kenny Pickett for a late to mid 24 first.
You know me, I'm all in on Kenny Pickett. I make that move for sure. I don't know who's going to be in that mid 24 first round, and you've seen the Steelers have made the commitment to Pickett. I'm in on Pickett on that trade.
Yeah, and I'm with you. I think that starting quarterback is worth a first.
Yeah, Zonovan Knight for early 24 fourth.
I'll take the Knight side there.
Yeah, I'll take Knight as well, especially if you're competing this year.
Here's a Scott Sidlow trade: Tyler Algier in a 23 first and a late 23 second for Derrick Henry and OBJ. So
I'm
Tyler
contention. I'm guessing this is like a contender versus a non-contender type trade.
Scott's probably one of the best teams in the league. He got Derrick Henry and OBJ, and he traded away his first, late second, and Tyler Algier for those two players. But yes,
I think you're giving up a little bit there, but if I'm competing and I'm adding Derrick Henry to my mix, I'm probably doing that trade. I'm going for a championship.
Are you in this league, John?
So.
yeah, these are all my home leagues. I run.
Was Derrick Henry put up on the trading block?
No, but it's Steven Johnson's team, and he is like just folded. So he's always got his a couple run. He traded away Nick Chubb. He traded away Derrick Henry last couple weeks. So it's all he had.
Well,
was
the only reason I asked because if like Derrick Henry was put up on the trading block, then I might be more interested in him because I'm trying to keep him away from other contenders. But then it makes me wonder if you're paying up all of this for Derrick Henry, who is Scott moving to his bench? But that's a completely different question for Scott.
Yeah,
but man, I'd probably do this deal if the first wasn't supposed to be two. It says late. I'd probably do the deal for Derrick Henry, put the points in my lineup. I agree with Justin. I don't think Derrick Henry's washed.
Yeah, and if I'm rebuilding and I'm already cleared out most of my team, if I get a first, second for Henry and Algier, who's got a chance to play on a run-heavy team more next year, I'd probably make that move if I've already full-fledged dive deep in the rebuild. I'd probably make the move.
Both sides, not bad at all. Yeah, don't hate it.
It's one of the things that you want to trade for when he's got Barkley, Derrick Henry now, and then he's got Najee Harris as his other flex. Yeah, and then he's got who else? Justin Jackson, Williams, Zach Moss, Haskins. He doesn't have much. Kyron Williams, Isaiah Spiller.
So it sounds like he's moving him right. Yeah, it doesn't sound like he benched much.
No, I'm trying to get Isaiah Spiller from every day, but he won't do it. So because I'm an Isaiah Spiller guy, but most people aren't, except for me, and I have bad taste in players, so that's why that happens.
And Scott, you must not be offering him enough.
I'm not. It is what it is. But I don't have any picks. I trade all my picks away all the time. I'm that guy. Jarrett McKinnon for a 23 fourth.
I'll take McKinnon.
Yep, I'll take McKinnon too. That's a pretty even trade. I figured you'd have to trade at least a third to get McKinnon in most leagues, so a fourth is probably a pretty good deal.
The guy in Sam Darnold and Paris Campbell for Tom Brady.
I'm taking the Darnold side.
Yeah, I love Paris Campbell. I still think he's got some upside. Darnold, if he can make a run here at the end for the Panthers, I like him. The problem with Brady is he just hasn't been even close to that QB he was the last 2 years for fantasy. I mean, guy's still winning games in real life, but on fantasy, he's just not putting up the stats. And, now we're all just looking at that decline. When's the decline coming where he just completely falls off?
If and retires with Matt Stafford.
Yeah, and he retires. Is it 1 year, 2 years? And is he good those next 2 years? I probably go Darnold. At least he's going to get a shot somewhere, and Paris Campbell.
And that's what I was going to say, Justin, that I would even take that Sam Darnold side if I'm contending. Mm-hmm. I don't think Brady helps me any more than Sam Darnold does with the news we have today, knowing that Sam Darnold's starting. If this was like a week or two ago and we didn't have all this certainty, it'd be a totally – but with what we have today, Sam Darnold through his bye week, man, I'm just fine with that.
Yeah, because now Darnold's playing the rest of the year at this point. Yep. I mean, at this point, they've said, hey, we're going with Darnold the rest of the year unless he gets hurt.
I think both of these quarterbacks will be irrelevant next year. Tom will be gone, and Darnold will be a backup, and it's just pretty much you're trading for Paris Campbell is what I'm thinking here. But that's still Paris Campbell's a win. 365-hour fab for 2 late fifths.
Sure. At this point, why not? Spend your fab.
Why not?
Dude, this is great because I'm in a couple leagues that are just constantly fighting to get rid of our fifth round rookie drafts because guys are like, there's just no one in the 5th round. They're completely worthless. I don't know why. I can just imagine if this trade popped up in a couple of these leagues, how much everybody would lose their mind about how ridiculous this trade was. But I love it. I like 5th round picks, man. I feel like I always got a gem hiding in there. That's where you can always get these late tight ends, get somebody to stash. I like them, but not everybody else likes them.
The Kate Attons and stuff. Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. I went tight end, 3rd round through the 5th last year in a million leagues. I just went Otten, Dolchich, Bellinger, Rucker. I was give me every tight end. I was taking all of them.
Dude, I drafted George Kittle in the 4th or 5th round his rookie year, like rookie draft. Like I drafted George Kittle.
See, I feel like the people that don't like 4th and 5th round draft picks just don't do enough research. So they don't know who even guys are at that point. They only know the first 2 round guys. And so that's the only reason they don't like those picks. I love draft picks. I always feel like I do well with my 3rd, 4th, and 5th rounders. So I'm always trying to pick up those picks. And guys are just like, why? Why would you even want a 4th rounder? It's not even going to mean anything. I'm like, you know who I got in the who I got in the 4th and 5th round in a ton of leagues this year? Jalen Warren. I got Jalen Warren in the 5th round in about every draft, and everybody's telling me that's a worthless pick, and then everybody's racing to get him off the waiver wire. I'm like, see,
well,
I was like,
and then meanwhile, you mentioned the waiver wire. Meanwhile, people are getting people off waiver wire, which means you missed some people within your startup draft, your rookie draft, and now free agency. So you know that there's some people that are going to hit. So yeah, take a few dart throws and might as well throw them, see what hits.
Yes, our last draft this year was Snoop Connor, Abram Smith, Chig, tight end, Chig Gonzo, Kennedy Brooks, Julius Chestnuts, Jeremy Ruckerts, who's that? Carson Strong, Justin Ross, Kate Otten, Tristan Ebner, which is it's a 5-10 pick. Tristan Ebner is pretty good.
I like Tristan Ebner a lot too. I added him in a couple leagues.
Bailey Zappi and Charlie Kohler. So there's some, even in the 5th round, you can still get some decent players,
Yep.
So for guys in win right now, Tyreek Hill won a 23 third and 23 fourth for Alvin Kamara, Deontay Johnson in a 23 first. So, I mean, both these teams are contending teams.
I'm on the Hill side there for me. I think it's pretty even. I like the fact that you're getting Deontay in a first back with Kamara, which we don't know what's going to happen with Kamara. Tyreek Hill, I just think is a superior player at this point. But it's probably pretty even. If I'm giving up Hill, I'd probably want at least that package back.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a close one. I think I'm taking the first side just because of the first, and I know what you can do with it. But man, that's such a weird trade. Kamara has been such a disappointment for.
Yeah, I mean, I'm guessing if you're looking to if you're in a team that's competing and you're trying to get that piece to put you over the top, and you get added Tyreek Hill who can score a ton of points.
It's the Tyreek side,
it makes sense to me.
And if
but
you're rebuilding,
value-wise, the first Deontay and Kamara is probably the value.
Yeah, and if you're rebuilding, and I know, John, you said that both these teams are trying to contend, but if you're rebuilding, why do you want Kamara? But it comes with that first. It's a weird trade.
Yeah, it's a weird trade. I don't know. Sometimes these pop up, and I'm like, man, I don't understand it, but whatever.
Yeah.
Jacoby Myers for a 23 third, 23 fourth, and a late 23 second.
I think I'll take the Myers side. I think he's worth that. It seems like a lot. I'm surprised it took the 3rd and the 4th. Like a second seems like.
Yeah, so it seems like a second for him would be plenty. If I don't need Myers, I'd probably take the picks just because we talked about it. I feel like I can do a pretty good job drafting, and so I like a 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. But I mean, Myers is young. He's got high upside. Technically, he's the number one for the Pats.
I think you're right. I think it's good you slowed this down because you think about like some of these guys in the second, even like Amon, Elijah Moore, like some of those guys I've gotten in the mid-second, Damian Pierce. I'll take most of those guys over Jacoby Myers, and this 2023 class is going to be another good class. So, I think you nailed it there.
I must severely undervalue Jacoby Myers because I don't really any wide receiver.
He's good
on the Patriots. I mean,
they also have no weapons there. But I mean, he's their go-to. He just doesn't get touchdowns.
Yeah, I mean, he's their number one. I mean, it's decent. If you're trading for a number one wide receiver, that's probably a decent amount for him because you're going to have to pay way more for anybody else's. But yeah, going into this draft class, if I feel good about any of my other wide receivers and Jacoby Myers is just like a flex play or a backup flex play on my team, I'm taking the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th and seeing if I can hit on any of those draft picks.
He's like the tallest midget. He doesn't, it's like, what's the difference? He's in the middle of the pack all the time. I don't think he's ever going to be like anything big, But
and then that's the problem. Like I said, I think he's the best wideout the Patriots have. But I also think if you turn around and put him on a couple other teams, I don't know if he's not their 3rd best guy on a couple other teams.
Yeah, Nick Chubb for 4 mid 23 seconds.
This is like trying to get Chubb off with 4 pinkies, and it's just not working for me. I think I'm going to keep the Chubb side.
Yeah, unless you're just desperate and you've tried to get a first and nobody in your league will bite, which is a couple of my leagues. They got guys that are tanking like crazy. They've got Chubb. They're trying to get like a first and a second from him, and nobody will bite. My guess is this is what happened here. Just couldn't get a first at anybody, and he's like, "Fine, I'll take 3 or 4 seconds."
Just wanted it a little too bad,
it's just
man.
like, I'll just do it just to get rid of him. And again, if your team is just that bad at this point, and you don't think you can get anything else for him, I like second round picks. I feel like I can get all kinds of value in the second round, but it just depends on where you're feeling.
I still feel like Chubb's the rebuild piece here. Chubb is the quicker path to a better team.
Yeah, I definitely think the value is on the Chubb side. I agree with you on that.
I'm actually not even talking about value, though, to be clear. I'm talking about if you want to have a better team in 2023 and you're rebuilding, it's still Nick Chubb.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from on that.
Unless
you think he's probably going to give you more production than any of those other guys would.
Yeah, unless you can really make some weird moves with those seconds. I've seen people like do well moving their seconds, but I mean,
this was the Nick script. Is a win now team. He's in my division. Me and him are pretty much tied right now. We are tied in every aspect of the game. But he traded for Nick Chubb and Kyle August. He got 423 seconds. And Kyle's in a complete rebuild mode kind of thing. So I think he wanted more picks, and that's where this kind of feeling is with this trade. Just to give you an idea.
Sorry, Kyle.
Jonathan Taylor for Joe Mixon and George Kittle.
I'll take the Taylor side.
Yep, I'm on JT for sure on that one.
I think I'm on JT also, yeah. Jimmy Garoppolo, this was right before Jimmy Garoppolo got injured. So Jimmy Garoppolo for 23 second and a 23 third. So Jimmy looks like he kind of avoided a major injury. It's no surgery, nothing like that. So,
dude, I'll still take the Jimmy G side.
Yeah, and a super flex side, to get a starting QB, it's almost impossible to get one for less than a second and a second and third on the guys. But Jimmy's not ancient. I mean, he's still got some years left in him if he can find the right spot. So I don't know. I'd probably take in Jimmy G there.
Yeah,
I think that's the problem of finding the right spot. I think he's in the only good spot that he really could be in right now. Besides Atlanta or something like that, is the same kind of offense. But I don't know. I'm not a humongous.
The good thing is, I think Jimmy G, dealt with everything, came back, and performed pretty well when he was in there. So I think he showed teams that he's still got something left in the tank, and I think that's going to help him this offseason compared to last offseason where he was injured and people were worried, if he was finished.
Yeah.
All right.
John, I want to be clear. I'm not a big Jimmy G guy either. But, and this is something we've been talking about on the Super Show, man. You look around the NFL and just the landscape of it, and I feel like we need quarterbacks. And a few of these guys are going to be safe for our Superflex Dynasty teams, even if they're not on their teams that they're on today. Like, I don't know what happens with Garoppolo off this injury, Trey Lance, and 49ers rumors of wanting to get Aaron Rodgers. But I think that there's a place for Jimmy Garoppolo in the NFL where he gives me viable fantasy points, and that's all I care about. And I think that second, if that's a starting quarterback in Superflex, which I think he will be, I'm good with that, man. There's definitely risk here, though. Definitely risk.
Jimmy Garoppolo is a much better NFL quarterback than a fantasy quarterback in my mind, so that's just how I look at it. All right, this is a big one here. Patrick, this is, again, Superflex, tight end premium, all that stuff. Patrick Mahomes, Justin Jefferson, and Jonathan Taylor on one side. The other side is Dak Prescott, Deshaun Watson, George Kittle, 323 first, a 23 second, and 223 thirds.
I mean, that's just a monster of a trade. I mean,
yeah.
On one side, you're looking at it, you're possibly getting the number one QB, the number one wide receiver, and the number one running back in Dynasty. I mean, in one trade, that is a haul to get all three of those guys in one trade from one team. I can't even believe teams even willing to give those guys up.
Yeah.
If you're going to give them up, you gotta come strong, and that's a pretty strong trade offer there.
You're solidifying your quarterback position in Superflex with Dak Prescott and Deshaun Watson. That team still has another quarterback on the roster besides them. George Kittle is, I think George Kittle is just about done in the league, in my opinion, but that's just me. 323 first to go along with Dak Prescott and Deshaun Watson. Dak Prescott and Deshaun Watson are like just one tier behind Mahomes is the way I feel. So it's almost you're not moving back too far from Mahomes. They're replacing Justin Jefferson is the hard part here, I think. And 323 first gives you the opportunity to do that. But I don't think it's going to be. You can't 1-for-1 for Justin Jefferson is almost impossible to match. But 323 first is a pretty good way to fill up your lineup with, and some of these are early. There's like they'll be determined, but like 102, 104, and 107. So at 23 second and a couple 23 thirds, it's a big trade. I just kind of want to get you guys.
Let me ask you this: Dak Prescott and a first or Patrick Mahomes?
Shit, I'd probably still take Mahomes, but it's close, really, really, really close.
George Kittle and a first or Justin Jefferson?
That's Jefferson. Easy.
Justin Jefferson.
Anybody you want in this scenario and a first or Jonathan Taylor?
If it was Deshaun Watson and a first round pick, I would take that over Justin Taylor.
So it's kind of close there. So what if it was Dak Prescott? So anyway, it's the Mahomes, Justin Jefferson, and Taylor side.
Yeah,
that's for me. I'm taking that side. I mean,
that's kind of what I'm saying. If you break it down, like there's really no scenario where there's two players that I'm going to take over the Mahomes Jefferson, especially if we do like Watson in the first. I'm taking Mahomes. I want that. I want that side. At first, that other side looks so deep because of those firsts, but you really start breaking it down and give me all those studs.
Yeah, I mean, the only way I'm making that trade and I have Mahomes side is if I'm literally sitting on Jefferson, Taylor, Mahomes, and nothing else. Like my rest of my team is pretty thin, and I'm going, hey, I got to get some depth because I can't compete with just these three guys. That's maybe the only way I'm making that move. But man, I'm saying the chances to get the number one player at three different positions, I got to take it. If I can make that move, I'm making that move.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah, you kind of have to. All right. Every week we do a team evaluation. We'll try to run through this in about 5 minutes, okay? Just do the best we can and kind of say what will we do to improve this team. I'm going to kind of keep my 2 cents out because this is my team. We always do one of the home league teams, and I figured I'd throw it out here, get some ideas as long as it's getting close to the end of the season. But I will share this team on my screen right now, and we'll go through it. So I have quarterback. I'm right to be honest here. There's 4 really, really good teams in this league, and then the talent drops down from like 4 really, really good teams to like 6 average teams, and then 2 like really, really crap teams. I'm probably after the first 4, I'm probably the second, right in the middle, like the 2, like the first 4, the 5, 6, and 7 is kind of where I'm landing at, somewhere right around that area. So I'm like in the middle. It's mid, and I have a couple draft picks. I forgot to tell you guys my draft picks. I'll go through those though as we go. But I have my starters. I have Patrick Mahomes, this is why I don't have any. I traded a couple first rounds and some other stuff for Patrick Mahomes. So I wanted him as a building block for my future. I figured if I don't have to worry about the quarterback position for 10 years, I might as well do that. Right now I got Zion McKnight, who I just traded for a 4th round pick. Jarrett McKinnon, who I traded for another 4th round pick. Both those trades were mine in the trades because I have no running backs. I traded them all away. I got Godwin, Juju Smith-Schuster, Cortland Sutton, Dulcich, Olave, Jacoby Myers, Andy Dalton's my second quarterback. I got Darnold, Kyle Allen, Zach Wilson, Davis Mills, Sam Howell. I never had this many quarterbacks on my team. I had Sam Howell. I liked Davis Mills earlier in the season, and that just collapsed. And I had to pick up Kyle Allen just in case. I traded a 3rd round pick for Sam Darnold earlier in the year, and he's my quarterback. Probably him and Dalton to be interchangeable. And then I got Eno Benjamin, Deion Jackson, Kenny Gainwell, who I expect a lot more from, Michael Carter, who I expect a lot more from, especially after the injury, Pierre Strong, Jerome Ford, who I really like for next year, Snoop Connor, DJ Moore, Jalen Rager, and Denzel Mims, who I just traded a 4th round pick for, De'Ami Brown, which I have no idea why that train can't get started, Elijah Moore, who's just kind of, great last year. I don't know why he fell apart. Sky Moore was another guy I drafted. I took him over to Christian Watson in a draft this year, which I still think is a good move long term. But it's to be something. I like to stack with Mahomes, who I already had when I drafted this team. So Hunter Henry, I had a high ambition for Hunter Henry coming into this year. he just fell on his face. Troutman, another guy I excuse me, I liked a lot and didn't really pan out. And I got Wandell and Ty Chandler on this team. So looking at this team overall, excuse me, I got a frog in my throat here. What having Greg Dulcich and at tight end and a couple other building blocks. What do you think? What move should I make on this team to make it a better team? I have, if you look on here, I have my like a mid 23 second, my 23 third would be mid, early 23 third, and then a 5th round pick. The 6th round pick is what you have to use for our 213 or 113. That's just so it doesn't mean nothing, but a second and 2 like middle, early to mid thirds, and a 5th round pick is what I had to deal with in the draft. So, what would you guys do with this team to make it better? I mean, am I just punting, or am I kind of going for it now? I got some nice base, keep making some trades. What would you do to make this team better? Shane or JT, go first. I'll give Shane a minute to think about this.
You're on mute.
You're on mute.
Oh, sorry, I'm on mute. My bad. Sorry about that. My first initial thing was look at this team. I had a lot of teams like this, super similar. You're like kind of in that mid range. You're like kind of competing, but you don't got enough. Originally, I looked at it. I thought, okay, you got to blow this thing up. You got to blow it up. But now that I look through it a little bit more, you've got some good young pieces, especially at wide receiver. Mahomes gives you a shot. You've had some injuries. Obviously, your biggest weak spot is RB. You got to figure out a way to get some RBs on this team. But moving forward, I mean, you got Mahomes, you got Juju, you got Sky Moore, you got Godwin. You hope Courtland Sutton comes back from the dead. Him and Dulcich just being on the Broncos. Alave, I like a ton. You got Sam Darnold to kind of fit in there with Dalton. Obviously, depending on what happens with Sam Darnold, you're going to need a second QB next year, especially if Zach Wilson. They've just completely given up on him. Who knows what's going to happen there? Michael Carter backup, RB not bad. You got DJ Moore and Elijah Moore. I still like, and Sky Moore I like. Hunter Henley I think has got a bounce back season in him next year, and Wandell, when he played was pretty solid. So you're looking good there. Really, if I look at this team, for me, you got a running back and a second QB is really your weakest spots. The other guys, it's just going to be see what happens. I think they're guys that can definitely take some leaps and bounds next year because you do have a young core. But that's where you got to fix it, I think, is just try to figure out, can you take some second and third flyers on RBs in the draft and hope one of those guys can kind of fit in there and maybe you can make a move for a second running back.
I honestly thought that Davis Mills was going to be the future in Houston. They traded up for like a 301 to get Davis Mills, 5-star recruit coming out of high school. I thought he got hurt a little bit. I had a lot of invested in Davis Mills. I drafted him into like the 3rd round in our rookie drafts too. So it obviously didn't work out, but so that's where I kind of I picked I traded some other assets. This team I had right before Josh Allen went nuts, I traded him away. Like after the 2nd year, right before he went crazy, I traded him for Michael Thomas and Drew Brees because I was in Win Now back then, and somebody took it, and I'm like, yeah, I fleeced this guy. And I was in Win Now. I was in the champion. Like when Dak Prescott got hurt, I traded him away for some pieces too. And I had Dalvin Cook, I had Joe Mixon, I had a couple other players on here that I thought Joe Mixon's done. Dalvin Cook's done. I traded for a couple picks, and I really kind of screwed myself on trading and overthinking myself on this team. And this is one team that it was so good, and I really screwed the pooch on this whole situation on this team. So now I'm in like disarray. You can see it's like half rebuild. I still think Chris Godwin's got a couple more years to go, and I like DJ Moore. I think these guys got bright futures for the next 4 or 5 years. So, Shane, what do you think?
I mean, I agree with Justin. I think you need some running backs and quarterbacks. Man, I love my running backs on my team. Even my super flex teams, I'm quarterback early and often, but after that, it's running back, and I'll find my wide receivers somewhere else. I think the first thing I would do, and I don't think you agree with me, is try to move Chris Godwin to a strong contender that has a a beat up running back. I would try to start getting the Javonte Williams, those type guys that can't play right now, and I think you need to take care of those positions, even if it's with guys that aren't playing this year.
Yeah, I just can't. I don't see myself trading away Chris Godwin or DJ Moore ever. I have them like on every team. They're like, you have your bays, and these are like my two bays, and I know it's the right thing to do.
Diversify.
I can't.
That's where me and John both struggle. We both love certain players, and we just stack them all day long.
Man,
and if
I'm
they
the
kill,
same.
we kill, and if they don't, we are in trouble.
I'm the same. I mean, I have players like that. Like I can't imagine trading you Swift. To be honest with you, that's a tough one. Like if you send me an offer for Swift, I'm like, why would you? So I get it. I have players like that too, and it's easy to tell you to diversify. But if you look at my teams, a lot of them are similar. A lot of my good teams are similar, and a lot of my teams that are bad are the bad side is similar.
To just give you an idea, like I think Greg Dulcich is. I drafted him in a lot of leagues this year too. I think he's going to be a really good tight end for the future. He was my top rated tight end this year in the draft. I had him above the other guys, so I drafted him ahead of everybody else. If I can get another quarterback somewhere and a couple more receivers in this year's draft, I'm pretty happy with just trying to trade during the draft for some of these other guys, like trying to trade away Deion Jackson or Jeremy. I don't know what I'm going to get for any of these guys, but fab money or something, anything to get 4th round picks. I just feel like I need to get a couple more wide receivers, and I can go through waiver wire after injuries.
You want more wide receivers?
I do, because I think that Olave, Moore, Godwin, and Juju, and maybe Elijah Moore, and probably we'll see what happens to Sky Moore. I like Wandell, but nobody knows what these guys come back from injuries.
I mean, John, if I was looking at you, because I like your wide receiver core, they're young, they got high upside. Whenever I have teams like this and I'm really hurting at running back, this is when I love, like we talked about with the tight ends last year, throwing dart throws at the end of drafts. This is where I would just load up on rookies and just take as many running backs as I can in this draft, and you hope one or two of them pop, either where you can play them or where you can move them for maybe somebody that's got an old guy, and you say, oh, okay, give me that old guy for this young guy, and he'll at least give you some solid production down the stretch here. But that's what I would be looking at here, especially I've done a little bit of look into the 2023 draft, and as far as I'm seeing right now where guys are dropping, I think you're going to see some pretty decent talent in the 2nd and 3rd rounds of fantasy drafts for running backs, because I think there's going to be outside of Bijan, I think there's going to be a lot of debate on where a lot of these guys go, especially after the draft, depending on what team they end up on. So I think there's going to be some guys that are going to fall. I think you're going to be able to get a pretty good player that some guy maybe had in the top 10 before the year and now is going to fall to mid-2nd as a running back. So I think you definitely can jump in there and get some running backs. And then, like I said, later in the year, maybe somebody needs a young wideout, or it's something you could package a deal for a second quarterback on a super flex, or do something like that. Or, maybe Darnold or Mills surprises somewhere. I don't know. Who knows if they can end up somewhere and play. But I think there's going to be a lot more QB openings next year than people anticipate right now. So I think the landscape could change a lot like that in 2023.
I just can't see myself trading away, even though I know Zach Wilson is just absolute garbage right now. I couldn't get anything more than like a late 3rd for him, and I'm not doing that.
Yeah, you can't get much at all.
That's what I would just sit on. I'd sit on Darnold and I'd sit on Wilson and see kind of what happens in the offseason. And like I said, I'd be going in that draft really looking at running backs, and then go ahead and try to sneak in a QB. There's going to be some QBs that fall in this draft. Guys that maybe they don't have the huge arm, they don't have this, they don't have that, but they were productive in college. I could see a couple guys that you could take that maybe be a Bailey Zappi type that you could get in the 4th and 5th round and stash, and there's a guy that they might get a shot at playing somewhere.
Yeah, even if you find the next Davis Mills for another year and a half. I mean,
yeah, just get somebody that's playable for you.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks a lot, guys. I appreciate it. This is almost the 2-hour mark. This is about the 2-hour mark right now, which last week's show was only an hour and like 4 minutes, so it's all Justin's fault that these take so long.
Yeah, I know you got to shut me up. It's hard to do sometimes.
Oh, the guys flew through. The 2 more guys that I got from my new home league were on the show last week. They flew through this stuff. Was really good. But you guys were awesome today, man. Thank you so much for being great. The show was great today because of you guys, and I just want to say thanks. Uh, Again, Shane, you want to tell everybody where they could find you, all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I'm at Swagzilla0G on Twitter and do the Rookie Fever podcast and the Superflex Super Show with John Hogue. Rookie Fever is with Michael Finero, though, not John Hogue. I kind of made it sound like they were both, but yeah, I'm on Twitter. Is it weird that we advertise for free for Twitter at the end of all of our shows?
It's not weird to me. I don't, if I could say something and whatever, it is what it is.
No, I do it on my shows too. I'm not, but I mean, if you don't go to Twitter, go there and find me.
Yeah. Twitter's a great space for fantasy football. That's why people used to ask me all the time. They're like, "You're on Twitter?" I'm like, "I'm on Twitter for fantasy football, man. That's where I talk to everybody.
Yep.
It's where we make all the decisions. Everybody, if you're on there, you can keep up to date with stuff. If you're not, you're kind of left out in the cold."
I don't know if you guys ever heard the Rookie Fever podcast, but it's absolutely awesome, and it's I listen to it all the time. It's in my I have I literally subscribe to 50 different podcasts, so I listen to all of them. I take notes during the off season on everybody's rookie stuff, and the Rookie Fever podcast is one of my favorites. So
thanks, man. Yeah, I appreciate that. We'll be doing our player profiles soon too, coming into 2023 class. So,
and I was on a Super Show for about a year
Busy time of
before,
year.
so I love that show too. John Hogue is just he's the one that got me in the having 18 quarterbacks in your roster kind of thing. But awesome guy. Tell John I said hi when you. Yeah, right. JT, where can everybody find you? What's going on?
Yep, I'm on Twitter, JT Orange. If you find me out there, I'm on that. I'm on Dynasty Theory Discord a lot of time, JT Orange 4 there. Almost here every Tuesday on the Commissioner Evaluation. I missed the last couple of weeks, but glad to be back. So you can always find me here chatting it up with John as well. But yeah, hit me up on JT Orange with any questions, or if you want me to forward a poll or send it on to some other guys, I always will throw my 2 cents on that stuff if you guys are looking for some info or a few opinions from me.
Thank you for making the Commissioner Evaluation Show a success again, guys. I really appreciate it. Have a good night, everyone.